tell, then you see the road. I'm out to my soul into the sides whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture perfect. Do it. All of that green together, the truth, yeah. Tell you the
Welcome back to Cypherfics, guys. We are continuing the part 6 of What If Danny Phantom Meets the Proud Family. Make sure to check out the wonderful author Pokemon Fan 1991 on FANFICTIONnet. Now smash the like, share, subscribe, and also press the bell icon so that you never miss a great update. Well, let's continue with the story.
In the back row watching the school play, Deadpool sat watching with Chester a bum. "Oh my god, this is the greatest play I've ever seen in my life," he said quietly, "and I don't say that about everything." Deadpool snorted. "Everything but Citizen Kane," he replied. "Shoo, the balcony scene's coming up," Chester said, putting a hand over Deadpool's mouth and shutting him up for now, something many characters and Neomark have wanted to do. Danny crept onto the stage, looking over his shoulders, looking out for any imaginary Capulets who'd go on the warpath if there was a Montague on their property. Danny looked up at the balcony, frowning when he didn't see Star. Danny snuck a look at the stagehand with a raised eyebrow, asking silently where Star was. The stagehand shrugged, not knowing the answer. "Go on," Mr. Lancer whispered before sending someone to find Star. "But, soft. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou her maid art far more fair than she," Danny said, reciting the famous lines and looking up at the balcony. Danny saw a silhouette of someone behind the balcony door, thinking of a spotlight shining on the balcony. Instead, the audience and Danny were surprised when another silhouette grabbed the first, harshly pulling her back. Danny frowned, watching the two silhouettes fight. "Juliet?" Danny asked, feeling like something was wrong. One of the silhouettes had the other against the door, pushing harshly. Danny watched, shocked, as Star fell back towards the stage. The audience gasped, shocked. Danny, acting fast, ran forward, diving. He caught Star. Unfortunately, the sudden impact knocked him onto his back, bumping his head. Danny looked at Star, relieved that she wasn't hurt. "Oh, thank thee, Romeo," Star said, still in character. She turned her head, kissing the corner of his mouth. "My bounty is as boundless as the sea, my love as deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite," she said. The audience thought this was part of the show as the curtain closed. Mr. Lancer, the stage crew, Danny's parents, and Star's family all rushed backstage. "Mississippi Strong, are you all right?" he asked, clearly concerned for his student. Two of the stage crew helped Danny and Star up. Pierre ran over to Star, hugging her tight. "I'm fine, Mr. Lancer, no thanks to Colette." Mr. Lancer frowned while Star's mother gasped, "And who, pray to tell, is Colette?" "I got her," Mr. Lancer, the head of the stage crew, a tall senior girl with short red hair named Mina Harker, said, holding another Juliet wearing the extra Juliet dress the costume department had made and a blonde wig on her face. "I caught Juliet here trying to make a run for the emergency exit," she said, keeping a vice grip on the girl's arm. For some reason, the other Juliet looked familiar to Danny, like he'd seen her somewhere before. "Colette," Star's mom exclaimed, looking furious, "explain yourself now." "Maman," the girl said with a familiar French accent and a fake smile, "I can explain. You see, Estelle told me she wasn't feeling well and asked me to be what is the word in English the study under." For some reason, the name Estelle sounded familiar. "Understudy," Mr. Lancer corrected automatically, "and where pray tell is Mississippi Strong's actual understudy?" Colette shrugged. "Well, she seemed not to be feeling well, which is why Estelle asked, but then she went crazy and stormed the stairs and attacked me. I was only defending myself when she nearly fell. Thank goodness her boyfriend was so quick to catch her." "I am not dating him, Colette," Star said, sounding frustrated. It looked like the only reason she wasn't yelling was that her little brother was still glued to her side, and I definitely didn't ask. "And I'm not sick," Star's understudy, a Latina girl named Carmen, growled, storming out onto the stage, "but you'll wish I had been when I get my hands on you." "Mississippi Sanchiana care to explain what happened to you?" Mr. Lancer asked. "Sure, I went to the bathroom before the show when this bruja with the bad dye job showed up. She offered me a bunch of cash if I helped her keep Star from performing while calling me a bunch of insults in French, thinking I wouldn't understand them," she stated, "which I won't be repeating because there's a little kid here. Anyway, when I told her no, she pushed me into a stall and locked the bathroom door. If not for Danny's little sis finding me, I'd still be stuck in there. Thanks, by the way." "You're welcome," Danny said. "Oh please, she is obviously lying," Colette lied weakly. "I'm sure the security cameras will be able to sort this all out," Mr. Lancer said. Star's mom nodded. "Yes, I believe they would," she said, looking furious. Colette began sweating nervously before she just snapped, "Oh, all right, fine, I did it. I locked up the understudy and pushed Estelle off the balcony. I was going to steal her boyfriend. Not her/my boyfriend, Danny and Star said at the same time, sounding annoyed. Man, now I know how it feels to be you and Manson when Dash calls you two lovebirds. He still does that, Penny asked Sam. Sam nodded. Dash doesn't have enough brain cells to understand the idea of a guy and a girl being just friends, she answered. Penny nodded. Yeah, that makes sense. So what if I did? It's not like you can do anything to me. I'm not a student here, and all I have to do is cry to Papa about how you're such a cruel which are to me, and mon petit frère Pierre, and the divorce will be done in a snap. Colette said confidently that she can't get in trouble. Actually, he can, Principal Ishiyama said, having walked backstage at some point, because as of this afternoon, your mother had you enrolled in Casper High, she said. Congratulations, Mississippi Bevier, you now have the record as the student enrolled for the shortest amount of time in Casper High history. So you're expelled, Colette frowned, knowing the expulsion would go on her record. And I can do plenty to punish you, young lady. In case you forgot, when your father and I got married, I adopted you, Star's mother added, and clearly, your father and I have failed to DSPLN you properly, and I will be looking into ways to correct that mistake. I actually have several pamphlets for military schools, Mrs. Bevier, in my office, Principal Ishiyama suggested helpfully. If you'd like, we can look those over. Star's mom nodded. Yes, that would be lovely, thank you, Principal Ishiyama, she said, smiling at the woman. Star's mom took Colette from Mina. Let's go, Colette, she said harshly. But Maman, you can't do this, Colette pleaded. Oh, so I'm Maman again. I thought I was a cruel witch, Star's mom said, and it's because I am your mother that I'm doing this. I want you to be a productive member of society. Colette continued to whine and plead as she was dragged off. Star's mom only stopped to thank Danny and to ask Star if she could look after Pierre for a little bit. Sure, Mom, let me just change, and Carmen can take over, Star answered. Star's mom smiled. Star, about Colette, I am so sorry for everything. She's a good liar, Mom. She's good at fooling many people, Star said, forgiving her mom. Star's mom walked off with a screeching Colette at this point, and her wife fell off, showing her real hair. Oh, that's why she looked so familiar, Danny said, remembering seeing her counterpart on Black Cat's Earth. She hates you too. There. Not surprising, Star muttered. Come on, Pierre, she said, walking off the stage. After an intermission and an announcement from Mr. Lancer apologizing for the delay, the play went off without any more problems. Star's mom gave Star a one-armed hug before walking off. After the show, walking over to a still fuming Colette and an equally fuming Frenchman who had to be Colette's dad, who apparently had tried to both flirt with Principal Ishiyama in front of his wife, which made her even angrier, and then tried to sweep the whole thing under the rug with a massive bribe. The principal wasn't amused, and Colette was signed up for military school in the end. The only one with the last name Bevier in a good mood after the show was Pierre, who spent the rest of the play backstage with Star watching the show until he'd fallen asleep before the death scene. Bye, Mom, I'll get some tickets for tomorrow's show for you, Dad, Georgia and Pierre, so you can see me perform, Star said with a wave. That sounds wonderful, dear. I'm looking forward to it, she said before leading her family into the car with sleeping Pierre in her arms. You know, Star, I used to think Henry, Buzz and Luke had the worst relative ever, but your stepsister takes the cake, Danny said in his head, putting Colette above Vlad on his list of worst relatives ever. No offense. No offense taken. She was the worst, but Pierre is awesome, so I do my best to tolerate her even when she tries to steal my boyfriends or just my friends. Star patted Danny on the shoulder. See ya tomorrow, Danny, she said. She was walking over to her dad and Georgia. See ya, Danny said with a wave before walking over to his family and giving Penny a quick peck on the lips. Then, they all piled into the Fenton family ghost assault vehicle for dinner. All in all, it was a good night. Danny from the different universe rubbed the back of his head after falling out of the portal. He was wondering where his Digimon partner went and looked around for him. Gaomon, he called out for his partner. I'm over here, MSTR, Gaomon called out. Danny saw Gaomon walk towards him, happy that he wasn't injured from the fall or anything. I'm glad you're okay, Gaomon, Danny smiled at his Digimon partner. I'm glad that you're okay too, Danny, Gaomon smiled back. Dabby and Gaomon looked around their surroundings, noticing they were in a park. Some tears fell from Danny's eyes. This reminds me of my home before that stupid Virusmon came and ruined everything. Danny wiped the tears from his eyes. Gaomon went over to his partner to comfort him. Danny hugged the dog like Digimon before he stopped crying. Thanks, Gaomon, Danny said. Danny and Gaomon saw that the park was similar to theirs but not turned into a battleground. Wow, this place seems so peaceful compared to our home, right Gaomon? Danny said, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. Before they could continue walking, Danny and Gaomon dodged a net being fired at them. The two looked up from where the net was fired and saw a floating person with off-white skin, electric green eyes, a mohawk, and a goatee. He had black gauntlets and skull-like boots. One of the gauntlets had a cannon that fired the net. "Stand still, you whelp," the floating person said. 1. Not happening, and 2. What did you just call me? He yelled at the floating person. "I call you that all the time." Skulker fired missiles at him. Danny and Gaomon dodged the missiles and began their counterattack. Gaomon leaped up and began to roll into a circle, hitting Skulker with an uppercut to the chin. The uppercut caused Skulker to lose altitude while Danny rushed over to him with a stick in hand. He smashed the stick on Skulker's chest and smashed into a tree. The stick broke through Skulker's armor-like body. "How did that whelp damage my body like that?" Skulker questioned as Gaomon got in front of him. "Gao rush." Gaomon hit Skulker with a flurry of punches to the damaged part of Skulker's body. Skulker's body began to crack and spark as Gaomon did one last punch that sent him flying backward. As he landed on the ground, Danny turned around and began to walk away from the mechanical ghost. "Come back here, you whelp!" Skulker yelled as Danny stopped to look at him. "You're damaged beyond repair. If we keep on fighting, then you won't be able to do anything," Danny said as he walked away. "I won't let you escape, ghost child." Skulker charged at him with a blade on his gauntlet. Double backhand. Gaomon spun like a tornado and broke the blade with his fist. Gaomon then hit Skulker on the chin with a right hook, knocking his head off his body. The body fell to the ground with a heavy thud, making Danny look back. He walks over to the body to see a small green blob piloting the body like a robot. It reminds him of other Digimon controlling Mechanoramon. "I'm Skulker, the greatest huntsman in the Ghost Zone. I will have both of your pelts on my bed," he yelled. Danny grabbed Skulker and tossed him up into the air. When Skulker was thrown, he was going so fast that a twinkle could be seen in the sky. "Look like Skulker is blasting off," Deadpool said on the rooftop. "And now, with that cameo done, I'm off to see She-Hulk." Deadpool leaps from building to building to see if he has a chance with Jennifer. Danny was about to walk away before he felt woozy and fell to the ground. "MSTR!" Gaomon cried out and ran up to his partner. "I thought using the smallest bit of the light energy to defend myself would be a good idea, but I was wrong," Danny said as his eyes began to close. "MSTR!" Gaomon tried to shake him awake. Then a girl with blonde hair walked over to them, wondering what was happening. "Can I be any help?" she asked. The dog-like Digimon looked at her. Something about this girl seemed very familiar, but he couldn't put his boxing glove on it. "Come on, he seems to be in bad shape, and my apartment is not too far from here," the blonde said as she lifted him bridal style. As she carried him to her apartment, there was a glint in her eyes when she looked at his face. It was the same face as the person she loved, whom she wanted to earn love from, no matter the cost. When she opened the door, she placed him on her bed. The blonde girl was taking care of Danny. But unfortunately, Danny was now running a fever from using his powers. She places a towel on his forehead too. "Even though you are not my blue eyes, that doesn't mean I can't take care of you when you're knocked out like this," the blonde said. "How did you know my MSTR has blue eyes?" Gaomon asked. "He looks just like the person I'm in love with, and I gave him the nickname Blue Eyes during our first date," she explained. Gaomon thought for a moment and realized that the same person this blonde was in love with must have been Danny's counterpart on this earth. "I know this is not my Blue Eyes because he didn't transform into dannyphantom, but I don't care about that right now. All I care about is him getting better," the blonde said. "Dannyphantom?" Gaomon was confused about who that was. "He's the town superhero that fights ghosts," she said. "And for you not knowing that you must not have ghost problems." "We don't really have that problem with ghosts," Gaomon told her. "But we deal with our problems known as Digimon." "So you're a Digimon?" the blonde asked with curiosity. "Yes, miss," Gaomon answered. "I heard a rumor about digital creatures living in Japan, but I never thought I saw one with my own eyes." The blonde smiled at the dog-like Digimon. "So there might be Digimon in this world as well," Gaomon pondered and walked to his MSTR's bed. Danny was now fast asleep, which made both the blonde and Gaomon happy that he was asleep. "Miss, what is your name?" Gaomon asked her. "My name is Felicia Hardy," she said with a smile. "It's nice to meet you, Miss Hardy. My name is Gaomon," he introduces himself. "It's nice to meet you, Gaomon." She gave a perfect smile to Gaomon. "Anyway, I do have to go because of work I have to do in this town. You two can stay here as long as you want. From what I see, you two might need a place to stay while you are here." "Thank you, Miss Hardy," Gaomon bowed. "Anyway, I have a job to do. I'll see you two later and the food in the freezer if your version of Blue Eyes gets hungry." Felicia waved goodbye to the Digimon and left the room. After Felicia left, Gaomon watched over his sleeping partner. He was hoping that he would get better soon. Now dressed in her black cat costume, Felicia was ready to work. That will be a plus in her books if she gets to see Danny again. She jumps from rooftop to rooftop so she can steal the time monkey. Meanwhile, Danny walked Penny to her car after returning to Fenton Works. Danny had a small frown on his face that she had to go. He wished that she lived closer. But, even though he didn't want to wish that out loud because a certain wish-granting ghost might make that happen, he didn't want the monkey's paw effect of that wish. "You looked great in those thighs," Penny said as Danny blushed. "Thanks, I thought I wouldn't look good in them, or I looked goofy in them." Danny felt slightly embarrassed. "No, I think it makes you look handsome, my Romeo," Penny teased, and she kissed him. Danny kissed her back, which made Penny's foot pop as they continued. When they stopped, Danny pulled a box out of his pocket and gave it to Penny. Penny opened the box and saw it was a class ruby ring. "Oh, Danny, you shouldn't have," she said with a smile. "Yeah, and I want to give you this ring to let everyone know you're the only girl for me," Danny told her as she kissed him again. "You're the best boyfriend ever. I'll never forget this moment, Danny Fenton." Penny put the ring away and went into her car. She blew a kiss at her boyfriend and drove away. Danny had a goofy smile on his face. "So when is the wedding, Romeo?" Danny was behind her cousin. "Ah, where did you come from?" Danny was surprised that she was behind him. "Invisibility," she answered. "Oh duh," Danny slightly face-bombed. Before they would say anything else, someone shot a large fireball at them. Danny and Danny were able to dodge the fireball. "Where in the world did that come from?" Danny asked. A large yellow raptor appears in front of the two halfas. It had 3 white claws that acted as fingers and toes. Its teeth were white and were shown outside of its mouth. Both of the halfas were surprised to see a dinosaur there. Then, the raptor opened its mouth and shot another fireball at them, which both halfas transformed and made a shield to block it. However, something more surprising came when a human punched both shields and broke them like they were nothing but paper. This shocked both halfas that a human could break their ghost shields with just his fist. Danny didn't know who this guy was, but he wouldn't underestimate him. Danny looked at his little sister. "You take the lizard, I'll take the guy." "Got it," Danny agreed. The two cleared the distance, hitting their attackers. Danny threw a punch at the guy, who brought his arms up to block, pushing Danny back with surprising strength before he nailed Danny with a haymaker to the jaw. Danny flinched when he took the hit. The guy was definitely strong, not as strong as a Tetramand or a Kryptonian, but stronger than an average human. Whatever the case, he needed to get him and his scaly accomplice off the street and away from civilians. "Is that all you got?" Danny quipped. "My grandma can hit harder." "I was holding back," the guy quipped before throwing another punch. Danny dodged this one, grabbing the collar of the jacket he was wearing, flying him into the sky, flying with him through the air, dropping him onto a roof. "Boss," the little raptor called before a red aura that looked like a dragon burst out, surrounding him and knocking Danny back. The little dragon flew up to his boss's level. He swung his claws at him, knocking him back and landing on the ground. Then, he breathed out a fireball. "Peeper breath," he called out. Danny held his hand out, firing a blast of ice energy, turning the fireball into steam. Out of the steam, the guy burst out, throwing another punch. Danny threw one of the two fists colliding, making a shockwave, and knocking the two back. Pepperby Dash, the little lizard, was about to shoot another fireball at him when Danny blasted him in the side. "Don't you know better than call out your attack after you've thrown it?" Danny quipped. "Like this," she said, firing another blast. The lizard rolled to the side, looking at her confused. "What kind of Digimon are that you don't have to call out your attacks to use them?" he asked, confused. "Digiwa," Danny asked, confused that Danny shared with her. What the heck were they talking about? Danny wondered, dodging another punch that, if it hit, could have knocked out a tooth. Danny wanted to end this fight and get some answers, was going to trap this guy in ice up to his shoulders when he got a weird feeling like his ghost sense was going off, but not at the same time. Danny and the lizard stopped, too, feeling the same way. Then in the distance, Danny saw a massive bolt of lightning fly through the air before it hit an apartment building. "Gotta go, civilians," Danny shouted quickly. "Danny, move. On it, bro." Danny flew like the wind towards the building. The lightning had set it on fire, and it was quickly spreading. Danny turned intangible, phasing through the building and looking around, finding an old man pinned by the fire. "Hang on," Danny called, grabbing him and turning intangible. Danny flew out of the building, taking him across the street. Danny flew back into the building, splitting into duplicates. He searched through the apartment building, putting out fires and getting civilians out of the building. While on the ground floor, Danny ran into the guy and his raptor thing, a little girl in the raptor thing's arms, and a man who was probably the girl's father slung over his back. Danny and the guy locked eyes, and a silent conversation passed between them. They could finish their fight when everyone was safe. Danny helped the two get out of the building. Once all the civilians were out, Danny and Danny helped the fire department put out the fire. The crowd started to applaud. That's how heroes do it, right Akiyoshi, the elderly man Danny had saved said to an Asian man who smiled and nodded, right Stan. Danny and Danny looked at the guy and his lizard thing. Thanks for the help, Danny said thankfully. Yeah, well, people were in trouble, the guy said, we couldn't just stand around doing nothing. Yeah, I know the feeling, Danny said, holding out his hand. Look, why don't we start over? My name is Danny. That's my sister, Danny. Wow, your parents must have really liked the name to use it twice, the guy said, grabbing Danny's hand and shaking it. My name is Marcus. That's my partner Agumon. We're part of the DATS. We came here because there's been suspicious Digimon activity, Agumon added. Yeah, I still don't know what that is, Danny commented, looking at her brother. Do you, Danny? Danny was about to answer now and say he didn't know when he got that weird feeling again as Luke was sent flying through the air, crashing into a car. Luke, Danny and Danny said, worried, rushing over to him. Are you okay, Danny? Asked, helping him get on his feet. I'm not quite sure how to respond to that, Luke said, sounding dazed, confused, and holding his head. Let me rest for a second, and I'll get back to you three. Boss, I smell them again, Agumon said. There are Digimon coming. Are you sure last time you said that we got into a fight with the two Dannys? Marcus asked. Agumon nodded, baring his teeth and looking at the sky as a giant parrot with 2 arms, an antenna, and weird plating above his beak flew onto the street, making the people scatter. 2 ogre creatures with wicked clubs landed on the street, flanking the bird. Is that all you got, flying human? The parrot taunted. Because, of course, the giant mutant parrot thing would talk. Parrotmon, an ultimate-level giant bird-type Digimon, is said to wander from another digital world through a space-time rift. It is intelligent and calm. It prefers to stay out of battles, but once anger, it goes out of control. Its special attacks are the Sonic Destroyer, which flies at supersonic speed to mow down its enemies with a shock wave, and the Parrot Thunder, which fires electricity from its feathers. Orgemon is a champion-level Digimon that looks like Oni from Eastern legend. It is a violent temper and loves to fight Digimon stronger than it. It whacks its enemies with a bone club and has a special move known as Pummel Whack, in which it fires a dark energy wave from its arms. When I volunteered to lead the scouting party, I was hoping for a little workout from this universe's defenders. Danny growled, his eyes glowing. You want to fight, Iago? Danny asked, his fists glowing green. Be careful what you wish for. It's fighting time, Marcus added, punching his fist. In Universe 9020. A week passed when Danny was sent to a different universe, and the Bakumon finally captured Jack. They sent him to a prison where Danny's friends were also being held. Sam, Tucker, Ron, Ben, Gwen, Kevin, and Kara were all chained up. Their Digivices and Digimon were convicted, so they wouldn't help them escape their predicament. Are you alright, kids? Jack asked Danny's friends. We're okay, Mr. F. We're just peachy, Ron said. Hey, where is Kim? Jack asked, wondering where the other redhead that Danny had made friends with was. Ben lowered his head, not wanting to talk about his ex-girlfriend. KP is with the villain to find Danny, Mr. F., Ron explained sadly. Jack nodded and sighed that Kim would join the bad guys to save Danny. He knew that Kim had feelings for his boy. But Kim is under a spell. So they hypnotized her to hunt down Danny, Ben spoke up. Yeah, a Digimon put her under a spell, and KP went with them and broke up with Ben to be with her true love. It was pretty harsh, in my opinion, Ron said. Let's just hope Kim can break through that spell and help Danny save the world, Jack said. Virusmon talked to mind control Kim possible in the lab with her worried Digimon partner Lunamon. Destroy anyone that gets in your way and capture your one true love, Virusmon told her, and she nodded. Yes, MSTR Virusmon, she said in a drone-like tone as she walked into the portal. Lunamon followed her, worried that this was going to get worse. Danny thought he was. He was done with the multiverse stuff. He honestly was after Vlad had gotten taken somewhere by Deadpool. To some supervillain prison somewhere, hopefully. But now here was another doppelganger of his with a giant blue dog with metal boxing gloves and a jetpack thing, a punch-happy guy with an alien pet dinosaur that became a dragon dinosaur hybrid thing that he'd saved people from a burning building with, and fought a giant lightning-shooting parrot thing with arms. Man, I'm using the word thing a lot to describe things today, Danny thought. Is it because I'm a little tired from using the whale or because Polly the punch-happy parrot got me a couple of times? I'm not an official doctor, but I'd diagnose it as a combination of both, Luke said, who was standing with some help from Danny. Of course, I'm not a doctor. Holy cow, how am I hearing that guy's voice in my head? Damon asked, pointing to Luke. Your Cretaceous companion is capable of near-instantaneous transformation at a cellular level, yet my ability to project my thoughts in compensation for my lack of vocality is what surprises you. Damon and Agumon looked at him blankly. Danny sighed, translation, he's talking about Agumon being able to turn into a dragon, but you're surprised because he's mute and has to use the thing on his ears to talk cause he's mute. Oh, Damon said while Agumon still looked confused. I just didn't know what Cretaceous meant. It was a PRD of time a long time ago, the doppelganger of Danny answered. His dog with metal boxing gloves and a jetpack had shrunk down into a smaller dog dressed like a boxer walking on two legs. Danny had honestly forgotten he was still there as he walked over to Danny. Luke, can you get to Fenton Works and make sure Penny gets home safe, he asks. Can do, Luke answered, should you need help, I'll make sure to gather reinforcements. Luke went ghost and flew off. Danny's doppelganger watched him go, I really am in another world. Yeah, how'd you figure that out? Everything's not in ruins, he answered with a frown, but Aunt Alicia having a kid is a pretty good clue too. No, Luke's the day I think pigs are going to start flying before Aunt Alicia ever has a kid, Danny answered, but I think you and I need to talk. You didn't seem too surprised by those whatever those guys were. Digimon, Danny's doppelganger said as if he was talking about something obvious Danny should know about, like gravity or cheese, speaking of which, where's your partner? Jazz is at Yale, Sam's on a college tour at Friedkin, and Tucker's doing the same thing in New York. Danny listed every person he named as he held out another finger. Henry went with Sam. You just saw Luke go to my house to make sure my girlfriend gets home to stay far away from whatever evil army you want to warn us about, and Buzz has been asleep on my couch since last night, and Danny, well, she's behind me. I meant your Digimon partner. I have no idea who or no one you're talking about, but I figured she'd be in Boston because that's where she was when Virusmon invaded. Yeah, my brothers never saw a Digimon before today, Danny answered before blinking. Honestly, neither have I, at least, I think I haven't. Marcus stepped forward. Yeah, I think we need to talk about the invasion thing you and Parrotmon mentioned. Marcus cracked his knuckles. Agumon bared his fangs sniffing the air. He nodded, he's the one I was smelling, him and the Gaomon who could become ultimate level. Oh, I thought it was this Danny, he said. Hey, speaking of, why are there so many guys in America who look like you? Danny and Danny look at Marcus with raised eyebrows. Do you not know who I am, he asks. Dannyphantom, the ghost boy saved the world a couple of times, teenage superhero. Wait, you're Dannyphantom, Marcus asked. I've heard Yoshi mention the name before, but I thought she was talking about a cheesy horror movie, he admitted looking sheepish. The name sounds like it was made for something aimed at my kid sister. Boss, have you ever heard Yoshi talking about a horror movie? Agumon asked. Marcus thought about it before he shook his head. You're some sort of idiot, aren't you? The dog thing asked. Gaomon, that isn't polite, Danny's doppelganger scolded the dog thing whose name was Gaomon, even if it is true. Hey, you want to say that again, Marcus said, sounding ticked and looking like he was ready to get into another fight, and Danny's doppelganger looked ready to fight. Danny and Danny stepped in between before someone could throw a punch. Guys, apparent alien invasion. Not aliens, Digimon, do you not listen like this dunce? Danny's doppelganger asked. Okay, this version of Danny was a JRK. He must apologize if I've ever been this bad to my friends or family. Marcus backed down. Danny's right, Agumon. We should go to the base and warn everyone about this invasion. He pointed at Danny's angry doppelganger. You're coming with because you know about the threat that's coming. Danny's doppelganger and Gaomon nodded. Danny looked at Marcus. Count me in, too, Danny said. Marcus nodded. Me too, Danny said. Don't think you're going to leave me behind, big bro. Marcus nodded, pulling out some phone thing. Okay, note to me after I beat Digimon invasion, get head checked and or get word of the day book, Danny thought. Megumi, Mickey, open a portal to the base at my location. Acknowledged. The device beeped, a swirling yellow portal opened. Marcus and Agumon stepped through Danny's doppelganger, and Gaomon followed, then Danny and Danny. As the portal closed, a mind-controlled Kim Possible and her equally mind-controlled Digimon partner Lunamon landed using her Digivice to scan the closing portal. I've found you at last, beloved, she said. Soon you'll be safe, and we'll be happily serving as Lord Virusman's royal guard together again, she said before opening a portal that she and Lunamon went through. The portal took them to a tall building needing the sea. Have at thee, foul villain, Thor said, swinging his hammer Mjolnir in a circle, shooting lightning, zapping a squadron of Kuwagamen out of the sky nearby. In the air, Falcon and Iron Man were flying through the air, containing the invaders within a certain area, while down below the majority of Thor's comrades had the lion's share of the enemy's attention. Thor had no idea what realm these strange creatures came from, but it mattered not, for he would drive them back from whence they came. Vulcan hammer, a new enemy shouted before a lightning bolt flew at Thor. The god of thunder redirected the lighting easily. Thou thinks you can beat me with lightning, Thor laughed, you make me laugh. The one who shot the lightning at him, Zudaman, leaped at him, lightning surging across the surface of his hammer, swinging at Thor, sending him flying back through the air, embedding himself in a building. You all right, Point Break? Thor heard Stark's voice in his ear while he fired a barrage of little rockets at an airdram. Thor pried his arm out of the concrete crater, tapping the earpiece. I have dealt with far worse, however, after this fight, I need your attorney Stark to deal with my rights being copied. I think you mean copyright infringement, but sure, Stark said as Thor fully pried himself free, flying at Zudaman, hitting him hammer first in the stomach. Have at the infringer of the copyright, Thor yelled out, firing lightning, sending him flying back. In Metropolis, Superman punched a Kabuteramon in the chin before blocking a barrage of needle spray attacks from a group of Togemen. The Man of Steel shrugged off the needles, shaking them off his body and out of his hair without getting a scratch, while Hawkman and Hawkwoman took out the Togemen with swings of their nth metal maces. Electro Squall, a bolt of lightning hit Superman in the back. The last son of Krypton yelled out in pain as electricity surged over his body from a squadron of Wizardman staffs. It seems you are vulnerable to the mystic arts, the lead Wizardmon commented, which makes me a poor opponent for you. Maybe for Superman, Batman said behind the Wizardmon. Electro Squall attacks stopped as they all turned to see Batman had appeared in the middle of the squad. Two of the Wizardmon pointed their staffs at him, about to use another attack. Batman pulled out his grappling hook and grabbed around the staff, pulling him into another, knocking them over like bowling pins. Superman appeared behind the lead Wizardmon. Looks like Batman was a poor opponent for you, he said, knocking the Wizardmon out. In Paris, Ladybug wrapped her yo-yo around an Arakeneman, binding her arms against her side. Then, with a tug, Ladybug threw the Arakeneman airborne, where Chat Noir hit her with his staff. Chat Noir landed with cat-like grace, smiling charmingly at Ladybug. Excellent work as always, milady. Ladybug rolled her eyes before smiling lovingly. Flirt later, mon amour, we've got work to do. Chat Noir nodded, after you, my love. In Gimmelsthump, Drusselstein the Kinderlumper spun a circle with his staff, making a wall shielding some civilians from an attack from a Minotaurman with another circle. The wall was sent sliding across the ground, crashing into the invading Digimon. Kinderlumper turned to the civilians, head down this street. You'll make it to the shelter without running into any trouble. The people thanked him and quickly ran off in the direction Kinderlumper turned back, where a squad of Guardramen was moving towards him. Let's go, Weiss, Kinderlumper said to his talisman before flying on his staff towards the enemies. Manny Rivera, better known as El Tigre, roared like a tiger before punching a Leomon, sending it flying through the air, hitting the Miracle City volcano, and knocking off the M. In a city on the island of Madagascar, a Floruna wearing a white bandana around the top half of his face and a white tank top bent his body around the punch of a Woodmon. Another Woodmon came at him from behind. The Floruna leaped into the air, letting the two Woodmon hit him. A Cherrymon watched. Stop playing around and destroy him already in the name of Lord Virusmon, he commanded as more Woodmon charged in to fight. In Ghana, a trio of Dokugumon was firing their poison cobweb attack at the hero Anansi. Once again, their attacks ended up hitting nothing. Anansi appeared behind him, laughing. Anansi, the spider, is not so easy a target to hit, even for a fellow arachnid, he taunted. Enraged, the Dokugumon turned and charged at Anansi, only for him to be another illusion. In Chicago, a group of Monzaemon was blasted by a laser from a young woman wearing a mostly purple costume with blue highlights and a GB on her mask above a silver visor. A Sandyramon tried to attack her from behind, but it was intercepted with a punch to the jaw by a young man in a black hooded costume that obscured the top half of his face with blue gloves and boots, a cobra symbol on his chest. He landed behind the other girl. Thanks for having my back, Cobra. Always Gazerbeam, he said as more Digimon surrounded the two. In Mongolia Arrow, an arrow has shot the arrowhead splitting apart into a net that pinned a Mummymon and his machine gun to the side of a wall. The archer who fired the arrow was dressed in a robin green long-sleeved hooded jacket with black pants, light green gloves, and boots. Meteor shower, a Starmon shouted. The archer rolled out of the way. His hood came off, revealing his dark black hair and the light green mask covering half of his face. Nice shot, he complimented. Cockily while notching an arrow, but mine better, letting the drawstring go. The arrow flew at Starmon. Rah! A bear-like roar was heard as a person who looked like a bear wearing a green and yellow sleeveless shirt, white pants, and boots, making him look like some football player grappling with a Devimon. You're pretty strong, I suppose, for a human, the Devimon complimented insincerely. I'm not human, the bear person said, grabbing the Devimon and pushing back before he tackled him into a car. The name's Grizzly. Before Grizzly could do anything, he was struck by lightning from a wizardmon. I apologize for my comrade. He should have called you a filthy beast, he said, hitting Grizzly grit his teeth as he pushed himself back onto his feet. Then, stomping against the ground, he rushed forward, hitting the wizardmon with a clothesline. Letting out a tired breath, I've been called worse, he said before looking towards more charging Digimon. All around the world, wherever Digimon invaded, heroes had risen to defend their planet. Some were young, some were old, some were humans, others were aliens, mutants, or monsters, some dressed in colorful outfits, and some wore everyday clothes, but in the end, none of those differences mattered because the Earth was their home. And they weren't going to give it up without a fight. Something Virusmon could tell with growing annoyance was that this world should be fully conquered by now. The few humans who had Digimon were concentrated in Japan. In the past, his army had conquered armies worth of human and Digimon partners. So why was this world giving him so much trouble? Ready my portal, Virusmon ordered. I will deal with these pests myself. The Imperial Palace was under attack. Civilians were rushed inside the complex and escorted to safety by the police. At the same time, the heroes of Japan had gathered to fight back against the epicenter of the Digimon invasion of their country. Moon Princess Halation, Sailor Moon called out her attack, blasting a Starmon in the eyes and sending it flying through the air. The other Sailor Scouts were fighting, firing their own attacks, and holding the line against. And the Sailor Scouts weren't the only ones. Bushido, a member of the Teen Titans, was clashing swords with a Musaemon while the Brother Thunder and Lightning were firing bolts of lightning and beams of thunder at a Devimon and a Lady Devimon, knocking them out of the sky. The Cyber Sumo, son of the hero of Shogun City and one of the greatest heroes, the Seventh Samurai, let out a ferocious yell as he grabbed two Ogremon by their faces, slamming them together back first before he blasted them point blank with the lasers built into his hands. All of you invaders will face the never-ending fire of my fury, he shouted, slamming his hands against the ground and making a shockwave that ripped through the streets. A line of Guardramen nearly took out Sailor Mars and Sailor Venus before they leaped out of the way. Watch it where you're aiming, Metal Brain, Sailor Mars shouted angrily before turning and blasting a Frigimon with a fireball. Cyber Sumo didn't answer before he rocketed towards an Andromon, throwing a punch. The Andromon grabbed the fist with both hands on the ground under the Digimon's feet, cracking before the Cyber Sumo's punch broke through, embedding the Digimon into the ground. He ripped him out, then threw him at a Kabuteramon, knocking him out of the sky. All evildoers shall be pounded into dust, Cyber Sumo yelled, rocketing off to fight more Digimon. Let me tell you something, Sailor Mercury, an Apoplexian with a runner's build dressed in tan pants with a white tank top with a red bandana wrapped around the top of his face, that guy has some serious anger issues, he said before smacking a Guardramen in the face with his bow staff. Sailor Mercury, the blue-haired Sailor Scout, and a nearby Luoden in a light brown GI with a brown robe nodded in agreement before he floated a car at an Airdramen slash. Nearby on a rooftop, Sailor Jupiter was flipping back, dodging blows from a trio of Thundermon. Thundervault, the Thundermon called, unleashing lightning bolts at Sailor Jupiter, who leaped back, barely dodging the attack's electricity buzzing around her. Jupiter Thunderbolt, Sailor Jupiter called out, throwing her own electric attack that the Thundermon dodged before rushing in and tackling her, hitting her from three sides and disorientating her. The Thundermon then flew back. Thundervault, they shouted together before she could react. A flash of green blocked the lightning as Danny was now standing in front of her. I didn't think Bowling Ball left the alley, Danny quipped before he fired off a couple of blasts, knocking two of the Thundermon rolling through the air. Before Danny could hit the third one, someone else beat him to the punch. Lila Shower, 5 thin beams flew through the air, hitting the third one. Danny saw a pink flower lady holding onto a woman with short dark red hair in a pink and white uniform. Danny was going to assume the flower lady was a Digimon because pretty much everything he saw today was a Digimon. Why is it whenever we're in the same country, everything goes crazy? Sailor Jupiter asked him snarkily. It doesn't always, Danny snarked back to his one-time blind date turned friend, though Makoto just raised an eyebrow. So what is it this time? She asked. Digimon creatures from another dimension, Danny explained. Makoto nodded behind Danny on the street. Digital Danny and Mirage Jaegerman had joined the fight. What about him? Right. It's an army of Digimon from another universe who invade and destroy planets. Good to know, Makoto replied. The other woman walked over while her Digimon went down to fight with the other Dannyphantom. I'm Yoshino Fujiita. It's an honor to meet you, she said politely, bowing her head. However, Danny was stuck on how she sounded exactly like Jazz. It's nice to meet you too, but I have a girlfriend, Danny said. I'm 20, Yoshi said deadpan with an annoyed look in her eyes. Oh, oops, wow, sorry, I totally misread the situation, Danny said awkwardly. It was nice meeting you. Danny quickly flew into the battle. When he was gone, Yoshi's Digimon Lilamon flew up beside her. Did you get an autograph? I was going to ask, but he thought I wanted to steal him from his girlfriend, Yoshi answered. Do I really look like a teenager? I can't answer that. I don't really understand human aging, Lilamon answered. Yoshi sighed. Let's just go. Nova Blast, a line of Greymon shouted as they breathed fire at Danny. Danny's eyes glowed blue as he shot out beams from his hands and ice, turning the fire into harmless snow. Like I always say, fight fire with ice, Danny quipped, or at least since Boxy stole Pandora's box. Double Crescent Mirage, Mirage Jaegerman said, hitting the Greymon before they could counterattack. Danny's digital counterpart riding on Mirage Jaegermon's shoulder gave him an annoyed look. This isn't a time for jokes, he said, annoyed. They're not jokes. They're witty banter, Danny argued, hitting a Digimon out of the sky, and if you haven't noticed, things are going to plan. The plan was a simple one: hold the line and protect the people. While back at DATS headquarters, Mickey and Megumi were reconfiguring the transport system, hooking it up to Danny's Chronosapien compass he'd got from Professor Paradox to send back Virusman's army all at once. No plan survives first contact with the enemy, Danny's counterpart said, especially when the enemy is Virusmon. Mirajagagamon flew forward into the fight. Wow, he must be really fun at parties, Danny thought before he flew into a fight, unaware that he was being watched by a pair of green eyes. He's so strong, so appealing. I have to have them both, a mind-controlled digital Kim said before looking to Lunamon. Are you ready, Lunamon? Her mind-controlled partner nodded. Ready. Kim's hand glowed, surrounded by teal pixelating energy. She smirked confidently, pulling out her Digivice with her other hand. DNA Charge Overdrive, Kim's Digivice glowed, shooting out a massive beam of golden energy that collided with Lunamon. Lunamon Double Warp Digivolve to Lunamon body glowed teal as it transformed, becoming a 2-story tall white armored woman standing in Lunamon's place, a double-bladed staff in her hand, the blades shaped like crescent moons. Dianamon. The fighting stopped as everyone turned to see the sudden appearance of a Mega Digimon. Virusman's army cheered, seeing their master's royal guard. At the same time, the chaos of Japanese superheroes was more confusing. Who's the Kim Possible look-alike with the giant moon lady? Sailor Moon asked. Sailor Moon, I think that's another version of Kim Possible, Sailor Jupiter corrected. I thought multiverse stuff was Danny Phantom's job to deal with, Sailor Moon asked before noticing him. Oh right, he's here. Let me tell you something. Kim Possible look-alike who may or may not be a version of the actual Kim Possible who suddenly appeared with a giant moon lady. The orange tiger will kick your butt so hard that your great-grandchildren will say, ouch. Oh no, Digital Danny said. Digital Kim smirked confidently as she stood on her partner's shoulder. Dianamon, wipe them out in the name of Lord Virusmon. Gladly, Dianamon said before spinning her staff in a circle. Artemis Arrow, she said. The staff glowed as a barrage of ice arrows rained down. Shields, the Luodan hero cried out, raising some cars as makeshift shields Cyber Sumo and the Sailor Scouts used. Lightning and thunder shot more. Gladly, Dianamon said before spinning her staff in a circle. Artemis Arrow, she said. The staff glowed as a barrage of ice arrows rained down. Shields, the Luodan hero cried out, raising some cars as makeshift shields Cyber Sumo and the Sailor Scouts used their powers to reinforce the shields. Lightning and thunder shot more of the arrows out of the sky. Mirajagagamon, Risegreemon, and Lilamon used their bodies as shields to block even more of the arrows. Out of the corner of his eye, Danny noticed an arrow flying toward the last few civilians who hadn't gotten evacuated to safety. Danny flew into action without a second thought, putting himself between the arrow and the civilians. The good news was it wasn't sharp. The bad news is that it hit like a punch from a Kryptonian. Danny crashed back first into the ground. Rings passed over his body as he was forced to power down behind him. Danny saw Marcus and Digital Danny helping get the civilians out of harm's way. My, how incredibly noble, my love, the possibly evil Kim said. Kim, what happened to you? Digital Danny asked. Digital Kim looked at Danny from her universe and laughed. Oh my love, nothing happened to me. I came to rescue you by freeing you from the brainwashing you're currently under, she explained, getting a confused look from Danny. Brainwashing, Danny thought, looking between Digital Kim and Digital Danny. Kim, I'm not the one under mind control. You are. Oh, my love, don't be so naive. I'm not under mind control. I've come all this way here to save you so we can return to our place as Lord Virusman's guard. Okay, Danny didn't know the full history between his digital doppelganger and his maybe girlfriend. With everything Danny's seen in his adventures from the multiverse, he wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in the multiverse where he and Kim were a couple. Going ghost, Danny rushed in at Kim. From what he saw from people with Digimon partners, the humans were more vulnerable than the Digimon. Rushing in, he threw a punch. Kim batted his arm away, grabbing the hair on the back of his head and pulling him nose-first into her knee. Danny staggered back as Kim hit him with a crescent kick to the face, sending Danny to the ground before he could kiss the pavement. Digital Kim grabbed him by the back of his collar, pulling him back up, then did the unexpected. She kissed him, her tongue pushing her way into his mouth. Danny did what any guy should do when a mind-controlled assassin decided to make out with you after beating you senseless seconds ago. He blasted her in the stomach, sending her flying back, and proceeded to spit on the ground, trying to get the taste out of his mouth. Okay, no offense, but I've got a girlfriend, and despite what the internet or Dash Baxter thinks, I'm good with just the one girlfriend. Digital Kim recovered quickly enough, looking over to where Dianamon was beating Mirajagagamon, Shinegraemon and Rasengan with backup from some of the other heroes. Oh, you're feisty. I was tempted to bring you along with how you look in those tights, but I think I'm in love, Digital Kim said, licking her lips like a predator. I'm more than enough for you and my other love. Marcus rushed in, throwing a punch, hitting Digital Kim in the face and knocking her back. Danny nodded, thanks. Don't mention it. She was giving me the creeps, Marcus said, looking over to Digital Danny, some friend you have. She's not usually like this. She's under Virusman's control, Digital Danny retorted. How do we break it? Danny asked. If I knew how to break it, I would, Digital Danny answered, looking sad. Digital Kim had recovered fast, rushing forward Danny and Marcus, each with a punch ready. Digital Kim vaulted over their heads, slamming together on the way down. Then, rushing at Digital Danny, she pinned him against a car. I keep telling you, my love, there are no strings on me, she said before kissing him. Digital Danny's eyes glowed in reaction, and Digital Kim jolted back like she was electrocuted. Digital Kim looked at him. Confused, the smug, cruel confidence from before was gone, instead was dazed, confused as she'd just woken up from a dream. Danny, what happened? Before she could finish asking, Danny hit her in the back of the head. Digital Danny looked to Danny. I think the mind control was lifted from her somehow. True love's kiss maybe exists, but I'm not taking any chances with Karate Queen here, Danny said, putting ghost ice restraints on her wrists. In the battle with the Mega Digimon, Dianamon stopped. Mirajagagamon, is that you? What happened? Dianamon, it's good to see you free from Virusman's control. Unfortunately, however, it happened. Dianamon nodded, clenching her hand tight around her staff. As if summoned by his name, toxic green storm clouds formed over the sky, red lightning flashing through them as a portal opened. Virusman's army dropped down and began to kneel. What's going on? Shinegraemon asked. It's him, Dianamon said coldly. Virusman, Mirajagagamon said just as coldly. Danny watched as he came down from the clouds. Even from high up in the clouds, Danny could tell he was big. The biggest Digimon that Danny had ever seen, not that he'd seen a lot of Digimon, but still. He was a great green dragon with scales the color of the clouds in the ghost zone, with a gold stomach that gleamed like it was made of metal. Danny wouldn't be surprised if it were with everything he's seen and punched today. His arms and legs were as thick as the California redwoods. His wingspan was big enough that he could wrap one wing around the Fenton blimp and completely cover it. Between his wings were long black tentacles like from a squid. At the end of a long neck was the head of a dragon, scarier than Aragon or Dora in their dragon forms. From one of his fingers, Danny saw something shine in the sun for a second, maybe evil jewelry. Like something out of a nightmare, he hovered over the skyscrapers while his army cheered, dropping down onto one knee and chanting over and over, "Hail Lord Virusman." Virusman held up a hand just like that. The army was silent. Virusman, with a single yellow eye lined with red, looked from his army to the defenders in front of the palace, focusing on Marcus. His eye widened in surprise before he started to laugh. What is funny, big guy? Marcus asked, stepping forward. Danny had to give his new friend credit. He was braver than most people wished they could be in their wildest dreams. You little ant is so amusing, Virusman said happily. Marcus Damon, the short-tempered brawler whose intelligence barely surpasses an ape. I thought I'd wiped the last of you from the multiverse ages ago. Then Virusman's face turned, and in a flash, he breathed out a wave of green energy at his own army, wiping them all out of existence. Danny watched in horror as, in an instant, hundreds of Digimon exploded into data, dispersing into thin air. The defenders were shocked. By the gods, Sailor Mars whispered, shocked, falling to her knees wide-eyed as the other Sailor Scouts knelt around her. We never thought I'd see anyone surpass Slade in his cruelty, Thunder said, actually bowing his head in mourning. Yet today we have, Lightning finished, also bowing his head. Let me tell you something, the Orange Tiger said, gripping his staff, that's just messed up. The other heroes of Japan, even Digital Danny, who hated Virusmon for destroying his world, were shocked at the brutality on display. Danny agreed with the Japanese heroes. Yeah, they were evil and were trying to conquer the world for this guy, but anyone who didn't even flinch when watching hundreds of sentient beings get wiped away in a second wasn't someone who could call themselves a hero. How could you do that? Marcus demanded, furious. Just because Digimon reincarnate doesn't mean you get just to destroy them. Digimon can what now? Danny thought, surprised. Those Digimon were loyal to you, Yoshi shouted in agreement, with Marcus just as furious. Why would you do that? Virusmon scoffed as he turned back to face the defenders. They were expendable pawns who failed to stand against Damon of all people. Virusmon sent a look at Danny. Even with help, I couldn't tolerate their weakness. Virusmon held his hand up high. Across the multiverse, I've conquered the courage of Kamaya and Motomiya, the ingenuity of Matsuki Kanbara wielding the full might of the legendary warriors, and more leaders who, time and time, showed they were worthy to die by my hand. Virusmon said, waving his hand. The ring made a weird clinking sound like a keychain. But Marcus Damon across the multiverse is nothing more than a caveman, an idiot, a fool who by some divine intervention somehow found fools dumber than he is to lead. Virusmon sneered, tell me, and boy, do you think your father stranded himself in the digital world on purpose to get away from his embarrassment of a son? Don't talk about my dad, Marcus said, looking at Shinegraymon. Let's go, Shinegraymon. It's fighting time. Shinegraymon nodded, right, boss, flying into the air. Rasengan, Yoshi shouted, her partner Digimon flying into the air. Miragigagamon and Dianamon flew after him. In the name of the moon, we will punish you, Sailor Moon shouted. Then, she and the other scouts flew into action. Titans go, Bushido said, pointing his sword at Virusmon before leaping onto Thunder's back as he and Lighting flew into action. I will obliterate you, the Cyber Sumo shouted, flying into action. Let me tell you something, the Orange Tiger holding up his staff, prepare for a butt-kicking. He leaped onto a building and then at Virusmon, holding his staff above his head. I don't have a catchphrase, the Luodan hero said, flying into the fight magnetically, pulling 2 cars behind her. Danny reached under his collar pulling out the key to his Phantom morphed. Phantom Force going ghost, Danny shouted, inserting the key in and going through the morphing sequence. Danny felt he was going to need all the help he could get. Morphed into the Red Phantom Ranger, Danny flew into action, firing a blast at Virusmon. Danny frowned beneath his helmet when he didn't even flinch. When he was tapped into the morphing grid, he'd been able to hurt Vlad when he'd been drawing power from multiple Senzu rivers. So how strong was Virusmon compared to Vlad? Danny watched as others tried blasting Virusmon with their powers, getting no results either. Virusmon laughed, is that the best you can do? Shine burst, Shinegraymon shouted, hitting Virusmon with an attack sending the Dragon Digimon flying back. How'd you like that? Virusmon sent his tentacles forward, grabbing Shinegraymon by the head and throwing him towards the ground. Shinegraymon stopped his fall before any damage could be done to the buildings. Virusmon breathed down a stream of fire at Shinegraymon. Virus flame, he shouted. Rose spear, Rasengan shouted, firing an attack cutting through the virus flame and dispersing it. Are you all right, Shinegraymon? Rasengan asked. Shinegraymon nodded, flying back up. Cyber Sumo and Thunder flew at Virusmon, throwing punches together and creating a thunderclap that broke all the windows on the street below. Lightning threw Bushido at Virusmon, swinging his sword, cutting at his eye. Virusmon grabbed the sword with his tentacle before throwing the sword, swinging Titan. Thunder flew back to catch him while Lightning and Cyber Sumo fired blasts at him from the other side. Sailor Moon attacked from the other side. Orange Tiger was on Virusmon's leg, swinging his staff against his chest. Insects, Virusmon held up his claw, igniting with dark purple flames and swinging it down. Virus Claw, he shouted. Ripples of fire flew from his claw, which sent most of the defenders flying away from him, crashing toward the ground. Danny, who could keep some altitude, was quick to act. He made multiple duplicates of himself and dove down, catching the falling hero. Cyber Sumo was unconscious in his cockpit, plates of his mech suit missing with the occasional spark flying. The Bushido and Orange Tiger were bruised up but unconscious, and so was Sailor Venus. Danny's duplicate handed her to Sailor Jupiter. Get these guys and everyone in the palace to safety, he said, we'll hold him off. Be careful, old friend, Makoto said before she and the other Sailor Scouts ran towards the palace with unconscious charges. Meanwhile, the Digimon were fighting high in the air, hoping to keep Virusmon's attention on them instead of the vulnerable superheroes, which another Miragigagamon, a cyborg raven person guy, and Danny joined. Danny and his duplicates came back together, his eyes glowing under his visor. He flew up next to Digital Danny. You fought this guy. Does he have any weaknesses? He asked. If he does, I don't know them, Digital Danny answered. I shouldn't have come here. I doomed your world just like mine. Hey, don't say that, Yoshi said. For all you know, this guy was going to come here next. And we're going to make him regret coming here, Marcus said, tapping his communicator. Danny flew up toward the fight. Double crescent barrage, one mirage Jaegerman shouted, swinging his claws and firing crescent moon-shaped energy blasts. In contrast, Danielle fired a barrage of small ectoblasts that exploded against Virusmon, creating a cloud of smoke. Rasengan and the bird cyborg Digimon burst through the smoke. Virusmon shot out his tentacles to catch them, but they were able to avoid the slimy appendages. Rose Spear, she shouted. Blast Wing, the bird cyborg Digimon shouted, swinging his razor-sharp-looking metal wing. Virusmon held up his hands, blocking the attacks before he slammed his hands around the two Mega-Evolved Digimon, squishing his palms together and trying to smash the trapped Digimon like flies. Not on Danny's watch, he grabbed his phantom saber and sped forward, unsheathing it with a quick draw. He practiced for hours with Antonio and Leonardo against Virusman's wrist. Finally, the massive Digimon flinched, and for a second, before he swatted Danny away like a fly, he saw the ring around Virusman's finger. It was Digivis's hundreds, maybe thousands of Digivises strung together like an arts and craft project sculptor would do. There were different styles and colors, and some were in better shape than others. The odd one out was a Chronosapian compass in the center. Danny was caught by the cyborg Raven Digimon. Thanks, sorry, I don't know your name. You may call me Ravemon, the Digimon answered. Danny nodded, flying out of Ravemon's hand. He watched as both Mirajagagamon flew at Virusmon from either side while Dianamon was clashing with Virusmon with her staff. You turned my partner and me into your slaves. You and everyone in my army, Virusmon shot back, you aren't particularly special. Dianamon, everyone just keeps him busy for 5 more minutes, Marcus yelled at the top of his lungs. Digital Danny looked at Danny. Why would you say that where Virusmon could hear you, idiot, he shouted. Virusmon grinned. Thank you, Marcus, he said, breaking through Dianamon's staff. Double Crescent Mirage, both Mirajagagamon shouted, unleashing their attacks. Everyone else joined in, firing some of their strongest attacks. Swatting the attacks away with his tentacles, he pulled his head back. Virus Flame, Virusmon shouted at the top of his lungs, unleashing a supernova that spread across the sky, hitting everyone at once. Danny watched, falling as one by one, all of the Digimon shrank into smaller, weaker forms, their human partners catching them. Finally, Danny catches Danny, landing on his back. Still, Danny set Danny down gently in ranger form as Virusmon flew closer to his level, laughing. I'm afraid you won't be keeping my attention for 5 minutes, Virusmon gloated. First you, then I will scorch this planet till nothing is left. Virusmon laughed as he pulled back his head, about to unleash another virus flame attack. Suddenly, a yellow pixelating portal lined with blue energy surrounded the border that began to pull Virusmon in. No, what is this, he demanded, trying to resist using his tentacles to hold on to buildings. Even then the portal's gravity was still pulling him in. It hasn't been 5 minutes. Marcus shrugged savagely. Oops, I mistaken 5 for 1, my mistake, I am a caveman after all, he said. No, Virusmon roared hatefully as he held up his claw. I will not let you trick me. Virusmon held up a claw. Virus Claw, he shouted, swinging with flaming claws at Marcus. Danny grabbed him, flying up. Marcus dropped down, shouting as he pulled back and punched, hitting the Chronosapian compass and shattering it with a powerful punch. Danny brought out his Phantom Saber. Phantom Saber full power, Danny shouted. Green and blue energy swirled around the sword. Fire, he shouted as he swung a powerful energy wave that split into 2, hitting Virusman's tentacles first and freezing them, then cutting them like they were made of butter. Virusmon yelled as he was pulled into the portal. Danny landed demorphing and looking at Marcus. You told him 5 minutes on purpose, he asked. Marcus grinned. People get confident when they think they've got time to burn, Marcus explained. Mickey and Megumi told me they had the portal ready and needed 2 minutes to lock onto Virusman's data signature. So I got them that 2 minutes. It was a good plan, sure, it was risky, but Danny had done plenty of risky things over the years, and he'd be a hypocrite if he complained. Where'd they send him? Yoshi asked. Megumi said something about a void between realities, Marcus answered, and without his multiverse jumping gadget, he won't be able to get out. Good, Digital Danny said, tears in his eyes. He dropped to his knees as he cried, he's gone, Penny. You and everyone else has been avenged, he said before he broke down into tears. Yoshi knelt beside him, hugging him as he cried. Danny did the same on his other side. Danny better understood why his digital doppelganger was quick-tempered and kept people at a distance. He lost the person he loved the most, the way he talked. He lost a lot of people. He was handling a lot better than Danny would have, remembering the events that had led to his dark counterpart. What kind of monster would he become if he had lost Penny? Danny decided he was better off not knowing. Well, the world had just survived global invasion, things had to get better from here. Gwen, Kevin, Kara, Sam, Tucker, Ron, and Jack were sleeping in prison before a giant explosion woke them up. What is going on? Ron panicked. Yo, I'm here to bust you out here. Jake Long jumped from the ceiling. Jake. Kara smiled to see her boyfriend was here to break them out. What took you so long, Dragon Boy? Kevin snarked at him. Well, I have to go get your digivices and knock out all the guards, Jake said. That's great, Jake. So now we can get out of here and help Danny take down Virusmon once and for all, Gwen smirked. Jake's Digimon partner Dracoman used his tail smasher breaking the jail bars, and Jake unlocked the shackles on Ben and the other hands and feet. As the gang was stretching their bodies after being chained up for weeks, Gwen was hoping that Danny was okay and wanted to be there for him after losing Penny. I'm hoping he's alright, Gwen muttered to herself. So, are you worried about Fenton, Gwen? Kevin asked her. No, I was wondering if he was alright after what Virusmon did to Penny. He must be horrified about losing her. Gwen felt bad for Danny. You really care about Danny, don't you, Gwen? Kevin asked. Gwen blushed a bit before answering Kevin's question. I do care about Danny a lot, but I didn't want to ruin our friendship by asking him out on a date. Also, he has been in love with Penny since his freshman year. Before Kevin said anything else, Jake called them out to get out of the prison that they were in. So they left and went to the entrance of Virusman's castle. As they were about to make it to the entrance downstairs, they saw that the castle's entrance was filled with champion and ultimate level Digimon. What are they doing here? Ben asked as the Digimon were going through a hallway. Yo, this must be Virusman's crew to capture Danny and destroy the world he is in right now, Jake said. We have to stop them now, or Digimon will overrun Danny and that world he is in, Gwen whispered as they went down the stairs. The champion and ultimate level Digimon saw the teens and large man descending the stairs and going into a fighting stance. Oh, great, we're spotted, Gwen grumbled. Before the teen could pull out their Digivices, Jack pulled out his duo color of orange and blue. Everyone wonders why the Digivice looks so different from all of theirs. Mr. F, why does your Digivice look so different from ours? Ron asked. It's my new invention, Ron boy. The Fenton Digivice Duo burst. I have been working on it before Virusmon captured me, Jack explained. Realize Agumon and Gabuman. Agumon and Gabuman came out of the Digivice. Let's do this, Gabuman. Agumon glared at the group of Digimon. I'm ready to do this, Agumon. For Maddie, Gabuman said. DNA Charge Duo Overdrive. Jack's hand glowed orange and blue as he pressed the top of his Digivice, which began to glow. Agumon, Gabuman, Double Warp DNA Digivolve 2, Agumon and Gabuman transformed into their mega forms Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon as arms as a white knight took their place. It had a white spike on the front of his face and two yellow one on the back of his head. In addition, he had purple stripes on his chest, an orange shelled on the Wargreymon side of his shoulder, and yellow spikes on the Metal Garurumon side of his shoulder that hid rockets. He also wore a white cape that was red on the inside. Omnimon. The teens all gasped at the White Knight Digimon in front of them. They couldn't believe that Royal Knight was Jack's Digimon partner. Whoa, were the only words that came out of Kevin's mouth. Omnimon got to work by dashing toward the champions and ultimates level Digimon. A sword came out of the Wargreymon side of his arm, and he slashed at most of the champion and ultimate level Digimon. Next, the Digimon turned into Data as Omnimon turned his Metal Garurumon arm into a cannon and fired multiple blue blasts at the other Digimon. Finally, the Digimon turned into ice before turning into Data. That's amazing. Ben said in shock as the army of Digimon was no more. Omnimon glowed a bright white before turning into Koromon and Tsunamon. Your Digimon is a Royal Knight? Kevin was the one to speak up for the teens. Yes, they are the Royal Knight known as Omnimon. But Virusmon destroyed him in the digital world, and his Digi-Eggs came to Mads and me to be their partners. However, Virusmon ended Maddie's life, and I made the Digivice Duo burst to use her and mine DNA charge to create Omnimon. But, unfortunately, the Digivice that you have cannot fuse Digimon, Jack explained. So that's why you have a Digivice different from ours? Kevin guessed. You got guessed, Kevin, Jack answered. Can we stop playing 20 questions to Mr. Fenton and go already? Danny might be in danger. Gwen tried to get everyone at the task at hand. Everyone stopped asking Jack about the Digivice and his Digimon partners and headed to the hallway. They made it to the area with the portal sending Digimon to the other Earth. A group of Bakemon was sending the Digimon to Earth. The teens and Jack noticed that Virusmon wasn't in the area. Wondering where the dragon-type Digimon was, suddenly an alarm went off, and the Bakemon were all typing on the computers, wondering what had happened. "What going on?" one of the Bakemon asked. "We lost Lord Virusman's signal," another one cried out. "Try to pinpoint the compass Lord Virusman has," the Bakemon demanded. The other Bakemon tried to locate the signal that the compass emitted, but the computers said that the signal was lost. "This can't be. Did Lord Virusman lose?" one Bakemon panicked. As they tried to pinpoint the location of their boss, the teens were shocked by what they heard. Virusman was a very powerful Digimon, and he was hard to get rid of because of reconfigured data that he had that made it almost impossible to defeat him. Ben and others decided to call out their Digimon partners to wipe out the Bakemon, so they won't have the chance to bring back their boss. Ben, Gwen, Kevin, Ron, Kara, and Jake realized their Digimon partners. Ben had Gamamon, Gwen had Renamon, Kevin had Monodramon, Sam had Lalamon, Tucker had Hagurman, and Ron had Gomamon. Their Digimon began to attack all the ghost-type Digimon. Gamamon and the other Digimon attacked the Bakemon. They won easily, while Jack found a refrigerator with a mountain of food to feed Koromon and Tsunamon to refill their bellies to digivolve again to Omnimon. One of the Bakemon saw this and tried to attack Jack and his Digimon partners. Zombie Claw. Bakemon outstretches his undead hands. However, Renamon and Gamamon came over and punched the undead hands away from the group as they ate a year's worth of food. After they finished their meal, they digivolved into Agumon and Gabumon, respectively. "Are you ready for the second round, guys?" Jack asked. The Digimon nodded, and they raced down to fight the Bakemon. Agumon and Gabumon easily got through most of the Bakemon, but more and more showed up in their place. Suddenly there were 1,000 Bakemon. "I think we need to call the Ghostbusters on this because there are too many to destroy," Agumon quipped. "I agree with Agumon there," Gabumon responded. "It's time for Omnimon. DNA Charge Duo Overdrive." Agumon and Gabumon turn into Omnimon and glare at all the ghost-type Digimon. The Bakemon floated confidently, not intimidated by the Mega Digimon in front of them. "We don't have time with this without Lord Virusman. The slaves will start to break free of the mind control," one Bakemon said. The others agreed. "I know it's a shame. I wanted to have fun destroying Omnimon again." The Bakemon glowed green as they combined. "Execute," they shouted, glowing green as they transformed into a massive humanoid form. When the glow died down, there stood a massive figure with black armor lined with gold with a helmet that looked like a dragon, a massive sword on its back and gold on its chest was the kanji for fire cracked in half. "Dark Emperor Greymon," the voice shouted. Dark Emperor Greymon, once a legendary warrior who fought for the benefit of others, has been corrupted into an agent of evil, burning its enemies to ash with its wyvern inferno. "You," Omnimon said, surprised, "you were the Digimon who was there when Virusman invaded the Digimon." "I'd say it's nice to kill you again, Omnimon, but I'd be lying." Dark Emperor Greymon drew his sword rushing forward. Then, swinging his sword, Omnimon blocked with his own sword, the sparks flying between the giant blades. The two broke away. "Wyvern Inferno," Dark Emperor Greymon shouted, swinging his sword and sending a crescent of pitch-black fire. "Transcendent Sword," Omnimon shouted, swinging and cutting the fire. The two clashed again. "We should help Omnimon," Jake said. Looking at his Digimon, Kevin shook his head. "We'd only get in the way." Omnimon and Dark Emperor Greymon clashed repeatedly. Every time the sky shook, the ground rumbled. "Once I destroy you, we will find Lord Virusman, and we will continue to conquer every universe in our path." "Over my dead body," Omnimon shouted, lunging forward with his sword. Dark Emperor Greymon held his sword in a vertical block, catching the sword stabbing down before quickly swinging up, forcing Omnimon's arm to the side. "That would be the idea," Dark Emperor Greymon shouted before slashing across Omnimon's chest. Omnimon shouted in pain as he was sent flying, crashing into a wall of concrete. Rubble rained down around Omnimon. "Omnimon," Jack pleaded, "you have to get up for me, Maddie, and the universe." Dark Emperor Greymon laughed, holding his sword out to the side. Flames began to gather around it, swirling around. "Wyvern Inferno," the Dark Digimon shouted, swinging out with his sword. Omnimon opened his eyes, breaking out of the rubble and flying forward into the fire. It burned around him. Dark Emperor Greymon laughed, thinking that he had won, until Omnimon burst through the fire with singe marks on his armor and spots of fire burning on his cape as he held out his arm. "Supreme Cannon," Omnimon shouted, firing at point-blank range. Dark Emperor Greymon didn't have the time to guard before he was annihilated and turned into data. "You did, Mr. F." Ron cheered. Omnimon transforms back into Koromon and Tsunamon after destroying Dark Emperor Greymon. As the teens sighed in relief, a white glow happened and blinded everyone until it died down. What came out of the light was Danny, Kim, and another Danny. Ben, Ron, and Gwen rushed over to their respective loved ones until Gwen stopped. She tried to keep her emotions about Danny in check. Kim, you're not under Virusman's mind control? Ben asked. No, and I never wanted to break up with you when I was under mind control. I wanted to be there for Danny after losing Penny. That the mind control amped my feeling for Danny since PK, Kim explained and apologized to Ben. I understand, my blue fox. Ben smiled and kissed his girlfriend on the lips, which she returned. Gwen decides to pluck up the courage and go to Danny to ask him how he feels. Danny, are you going to be okay after what Virusman did to Penny? Yes, and thank you for asking me if I'm okay. You're a great friend, Danny hugged Gwen. Universe 20 Danny saw the sad smile Gwen was giving Danny and thought Gwen might be in love with digital Danny. So he decided to leave and not make this weird. Later that night, Penny opened the door, happy to see her boyfriend. Penny leaped through the door, hugging him. Danny hugged her tight against his muscled chest, resting his head on her shoulder. It's over, is everyone okay? She asked. Yeah, he answered, bad guy's gone, doppelganger is back in his universe. Penny nodded, smiling, good. Are you okay? She asked, stepping back and looking him in the eye. He looked tired, but you could never be too sure with a boyfriend who had a habit of downplaying how bad his injuries were so that no one would worry. Danny nodded. I'm fine. I just really wanted to see you. You can see her over dinner if you want, her daddy said, inviting him in, as long as you follow the rules. Danny laughed, sure, Mr. Proud, dinner sounds nice, he said, still holding on to Penny. The two walked into the house, closing the door behind them. Black Cat took the headless Tempa Simia statue, putting it in a sack on her belt before she started to creep away. You know most museums have a no-pet policy, a familiar cheerleader quipped. Black Cat looked up at the skylight she'd previously used to enter the museum. Black Cat watched the crime-fighting cheerleader flip down. Really, cat robbing a museum during an alien invasion, Kim quipped. Black Cat shrugged. More like an alien invasion happened while I was doing a job, she quipped back. Speaking of, shouldn't you hero types be off saving the world or something? Just finished, then I bummed a ride off my boyfriend, Kim answered. A blue blur sped into the museum with Ben as XLR8, now standing by an Egyptian sarcophagus. Hey cat, long time no see, XLR8 said, changing in a flash of green light back to Ben. Welp, looks like this was going to get messy, Black Cat thought, flexing her claws. It's a good thing she had her little partner, so are we going to start fighting now, or are we going to wait for Ron? At this, Kim frowned, actually looking bummed. He's not really around anymore, she said, sounding upset, making Black Cat wince. She knew Ron Stoppable had no reputation. Most of Kim's enemies couldn't remember his name. But Kim Possible's sidekick kicking the bucket would have been a major somewhere like the front page of the Bugle or online. I'm sorry for your loss, Black Cat said solemnly. What? Oh no, he's not dead. He just moved to Norway, Kim said, realizing how what she said could be interpreted. Kim leaped at Black Cat, throwing a kick at Black Cat with her forearm, blocking the kick, and pushing Kim back through the air. While Kim was flipping back, landing on her feet, Black Cat leaped forward, throwing a clawed swipe. Kim sidestepped the swipe, throwing a kick toward Black Cat's unprotected side and hitting her. Black Cat rolled across the floor before recovering back on her feet with one hand against the ground in a runner's stance. Someone's improved since our last fight in Manhattan. What can I say, Cat? I play to win, Kim snarked back, even if it takes a bit of help. A shadow appeared over Black Cat's form. Black Cat rolled to the side as a turtle leaped down at her, landing where she'd been standing. At first Black Cat thought it was one of those turtle people that, according to the internet, lived in the sewers. Still, then she noticed the Omnitrix symbol on the turtle's belt. Fascinating. Not only do these turtle people, they're sentient. The scientist part of Black Cat chimed in, admiring the largely humanoid form and wondering if it was a naturally occurring species somewhere in space or if this was the result of animal experimentation. That's a new one. What's this one called? Was what she asked aloud instead of the many scientific questions buzzing around in her head. Ben smirked. This one is called Shellraiser, and he's going to kick your butt, he said, leaping at Black Cat with a punch toward her stomach, followed by a kick aimed at her head. Black Cat raised her knee to block the first punch while bringing up her arm to grab his foot. Someone's been sparring with his girlfriend, Black Cat thought, a little annoyed. That or this species is adept at martial arts. Speaking of the girlfriend, she ran at her from the side, no doubt going for the idol. Black Cat looked Shellraiser right in the eye using her bad luck powers before sharply turning him towards Kim and letting go. The turtle person is now completely losing his balance, slipping, falling backward, and sliding across the floor. He landed in a conveniently open Egyptian sarcophagus. It closed shut. Ben, Kim cried out, worried before she turned towards Black Cat with an angry look on her face. She rushed at Black Cat throwing a punch. Black Cat rolled her eyes before activating her powers again. Kim smirked as she opened her fist. A mirror was in her glove, and Black Cat looked right into it. Not again, Black Cat thought, stumbling back and slipping. She fell backward, the cheerleader landing on her smiling down. Game over, Cat. Not yet. It was time to bring out her ace in the hole. Copy, blend in, she called out, surprising Kim as her costume changed in a flash of a brownish gold. She lost her fur collar in favor of white spots running across her legs and sides of her costume. In addition, her mask gained more fabric, fitting snugly around her now cat-slit eyes and covering her cheekbones. A black hood with cat ears grew up, now covering her wig. Black Cat smiled. What's going on? What happened? Ben asked, still in the sarcophagus. Black Cat broke out of the cheerleader's grip, bringing her legs up. She kicked Kim in the stomach, rolling her off before she leaped back, landing on the museum skylight. I wonder if this is what Spider always feels like. Black Cat thought, if so, I really like it. You have a cat, miraculous, Kim asked. She has a what? Ben asked, still in the sarcophagus. Hang on, Kim, I'm coming. There was a flash of green, walkatrout. No, I needed Ghost Freak for once. Most of Ben's aliens would break the 1,000-year artifact, which would be a no-no. Black Panther, actually, Black Cat answered, sure Chat Noir's miraculous would fit better with her moniker. Still, after Hawkmoth, that peacock guy, and half a dozen supervillains, mafiosos, and wannabe wizards had tried and ended up in prison, Black Cat had written that piece of jewelry off as not worth the hassle. How did you get a miraculous? Found it in an auction in Brooklyn, the Black Cat answered honestly. Kim pulled out her grappling hook, shooting out a line hooking to the skylight. Kim flew at her Black Cat, using her bad luck powers again. Since Kim couldn't use her mirror glove, the grappling hook slipped, and Kim began to plummet back toward the ground. At the height she's falling from, she could get seriously hurt or worse, the Black Cat thought before quickly acting. Shade, she cried out, her eyes glowing purple. Shadows from the various exhibits stretched out, forming a cushion that caught Kim safely. Before she could get up, the shadows morphed again, restraining Kim. I might not want to kill you, Kim, but I'm not going to let you keep chasing me either, she said, using a grappling line. Then, she quickly shot away, returning to her safe house. Kopi stands out, she said, powering down her Kwami partner, a little Black Panther with cute little round ears and golden brown eyes floating beside her. Good work, Kopi, she said, handing her a piece of jerky which was quickly devoured. I'm sorry you didn't get to see your crush Felicia, Kopi told her, resting in her hair. Felicia took off her mask, scratching Kopi behind the ears. It's fine, I knew it was a long shot, like my chance of him and me getting together. Don't be sad. There are lots of fish in the sea, fish. Kopi first tried to cheer her up, then predictably got distracted by meat. Felicia giggled. You're right, Kopi. Come on, she said, putting her mask back on, we've got a headless monkey to deliver. Though why some rich guy named Drew Lipsky wanted it for, she had no idea. Nothing was going to mess with today, Danny thought as he checked his ghost files for the 5th time. Skulker is in the ghost zone, and his latest suit got run over by a train. Ember is in the ghost zone. Technus is in the ghost zone. Desiree is in the ghost zone. P. Spectra is in the ghost zone. The box ghost, who cares? Hey, I have feelings, the box ghost complained, poking his head out of the ghost portal while Danny ignored him. Johnny and Kitty, Johnny is in the doghouse for checking out a cheerleader, and Kitty doesn't try to waste him. Walker in Wolf's old cell after the observance finally fired the guy. Danny grinned. He checked his phone. He had no calls from anyone. Ben was fine cheering up Kim, who was ticked Black Cat got away with some statue and reporters pestering her for a comment about Ron's death. Marcus was fine. No more Digimon invasion since Virusmon. Henry was in California with Alex. Luke was going to borrow Danny's computer later tonight to have a video date with Mina. Buzz was probably doing something with Gwen in Bellwood. Danny was single and didn't get the big deal about this holiday, yet something that would change when she started dating, and she'd call if anything big happened. Which meant Danny was free. Danny cheered. Taking an hour, he got ready, showered, dressed in a nicer shirt, and trimmed the hair on his chin that was starting to become a beard. When he started growing hair on his face, he would shave it off. But then Penny told him she found facial hair attractive, and he changed his mind quickly. Grabbing his wallet and the bouquet he got from Mr. Smithies, he powered up and flew off, making it to California in 10 minutes. Danny stopped outside the Proud House, checking himself in the mirror and making sure he looked nice before he knocked on the door. Hi, Mrs. Proud, Danny said, nice to see you. Nice to see you too, Danny. You look very nice today, Mrs. Proud said, letting him into the living room. He saw Bibi and Cece playing a game while Suga Mama and Poppy watched TV. The first time he'd met Swampy's grandpa, he'd gotten mad when he heard Poppy make a rude comment about Suga Mama and was about to tell him off when Suga Mama stopped him. She'd explained to him that she was fluent in Spanish and that Poppy wasn't being serious. It was the two of them messing with Leishinaga's parents, him saying the most ridiculous insults he could. Suga Mama came up with half of them to see the reactions on their faces when he said them. Danny had asked how long he planned to keep it up, and Poppy answered in English, until they stopped making comments about putting me in a retirement home thinking I don't understand them, before he and Suga Mama laughed. "Hi, Bibi and Cece," Danny said when the twins waved at him. "Hey, Suga Mama, happy Valentine's Day." "Why thank you, Danny," Suga Mama said. "I hope you and Penny have fun." Speaking of his girlfriend, when she came down the stairs, Danny's jaw dropped. His girlfriend wore a white top, a black midriff jacket, a dark red skirt, and boots. Her hair was done in a high braid, and she had knee-high boots. In addition, she was wearing dark red lipstick and the class ring Danny gave her. Penny walked over to him, putting a finger under his chin. She closed his mouth before kissing him on the cheek. "You ready to go, boo?" Danny was still speechless. "I don't think the lights are upstairs," Poppy joked in Spanish while Suga Mama laughed at his expense. Danny shook his head before he looked at his girlfriend, handing her the bouquet. "You look gorgeous." "You look pretty handsome too, boo," she told him, taking the bouquet and putting it in a vase. "So, are you ready to go?" Danny nodded. Penny looped her arm through his. The two headed out. "Bye, Mama, bye, Daddy," she said. "We'll be back in a couple of hours." "Have fun," Penny's mom said. The two walked through the streets of Wisville, heading to the restaurant he made a reservation at, Wizard Kelly's Romantic Bistro Y'all. Despite the really stupid name, the place was actually a classy restaurant with candlelit tables and a live strings trio playing romantic music. A maitre d' took them to their table. A waitress brought them a complimentary bottle of sparkling grape juice when they got there. The two clinked their drinks together. "So, have I mentioned you look appealing?" Danny asked. Penny giggled. "Let's see, once at my house, 5 times on the way here, and another couple of times outside the restaurant," Penny answered. "Then you're due because Penny proud you are appealing, and I'm the luckiest guy alive that you want to be my girlfriend," Danny said. Penny smiled around her glass. "I think I'm the lucky one." The band started to play It's All About Me, one of Penny's songs from her brief music career when she turned into a diva. Danny stood up, walked over. He held out his hand. "Can I have this dance, my love?" he asked. Penny pretended to consider it before standing up, taking his hand, and sliding into step next to Danny. The two began to dance. "I can't believe they're playing this song," she said, surprised. "I slipped the band a 20 to play it," he admitted. "You would have hated me if we'd met when I was Penny," she told him. "I was pretty self-absorbed." "Nah, I don't think so," Danny told her. Danny spun her around before he pulled her back pressing against his chest, her perfume filling his nose. Then, finally, she turned her head to look at him. "How do you know?" "Because," he said, spinning her around so she was face to face with him again, "I would have seen the real girl underneath the glitz and glamour. That's who I fell in love with." "Oh," Penny said with a blush as Danny dipped her right. Then, as the song ended, Danny smiled down at her. "Happy Valentine's Day, Penny." "Happy Valentine's Day, Danny." Penny framed his face with her hands before she leaned up and kissed him. Danny kissed her back while pulling her out of the dip, the other patrons in the restaurant applauding, though neither Danny nor Penny really noticed. All they cared about at that moment was each other. Draken's lair. "Ha ha 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 ha," Dr. Draken laughed as he held the headless Tempus Simia statue. "Behold Shago the Tempus Simia. With it, we'll be able to travel through time." Shago didn't look up from her magazine while her boss gloated. "You don't have the head," Shago reminded, turning a page. "Monkey Fist told you 2 years ago when you tried this plan with him and Killigan that you needed the head to do it." "I know that," Dr. Draken said, having forgotten that. "We'll track it down, and this time with my new partners Kim Possible, who won't be able to stop me." "Quite right, Dr. Freakshow said, appearing out of the shadows with Lydia behind him. After all. Leaping down from the ceiling was Zomboso the clown, with an evil grin on his painted face. "The good guys aren't the only ones who know how to use teamwork. And we will take down all Tennyson, his girlfriend, and his ghostly companion," Dr. Onimo stated. The 3 supervillains laughed while Shago groaned. "I'm now working with clowns," she thought. "My career is in the toilet." While Danny and Penny were on Earth celebrating Valentine's Day, someone up above in Fairy World was watching them through a monitor. "Cupid the fairy of love, ugh," he complained, looking up at the ceiling, seriously. Now, most people would think that Cupid, being the fairy in charge of spreading love, would love teenage romance, and he normally did, but Cupid was also addicted to watching drama, any drama when he was bored, and his usual source of entertainment Timmy Turner wasn't on the planet right now helping Yugopatamia with something. Cupid groaned, why has there been so much extra love going around? Where's the drama? Where's the heartbreak? Where's my entertainment? Cupid complained before smirking, getting an idea as he flew towards his safe, his love arrows and bow. If there isn't any drama, why not make some? He'd tell Jurgen Turner had stolen his love arrows again if things got too out of hand. Maybe he'd do that anyways, then he'd get twice the entertainment, he thought, deviously poofing to earth. Now on a rooftop overlooking the restaurant saw them arm in arm with each other. Cupid pulled out a list with his reading glasses, let's see who to hit first. Kwok Wong, Johnny McBride, Omar Phillips, 15 cents for sure, I just love his music, Johnny Lovely, Carlos Frankie, White Mega, and Dante. Cupid blinked, reading his list again. Why don't I have all their last names down? He asked before he shrugged. Oh well, time to spread the drama, he said, aiming up. He fired his arrows and flew magically, finding their targets. Now to sit back and watch, he said, poofing up a theater chair and some caramels to watch the drama unfold. Penny and Danny were walking through the park stopping by a fountain. Have a good day, Penny, Danny asked. Penny smiled, feeling like she was on cloud 9. I'm having the best day, she answered, giving him a peck on the cheek. Then, looking down at the reflection in the fountain, she saw how perfect they looked together. Her Danny and Mega. Hold on a second, Penny thought. Then, looking back, she saw Mega, her old crush, who had been arrested for running the illegal music download site Easy Jackster. Hey, Penny, Mega said, looking just like the last time she saw him, all cool and confident. Mega, Penny said, annoyed. Penny, who's the Matrix cosplayer? Danny asked, confused. He's no one, boo, she said, walking off and pulling Danny along with her. So why the heck was Mega here? Okay, it was a public park, but why was he talking to her after 2 years? Right out of nowhere, Mega appeared. Penny still needed to learn how he did that. Danny seemed surprised. How did you do that? You've got your tricks, and I've got mine, Mega answered vaguely before looking to Penny, holding out his arm for her to take. I could show you if you want, Penny, he asked. But wait, was he flirting with her? Hard pass. Hard pass, Penny said, walking past Mega. If I didn't like you, then I really don't like you now, Mega. Penny kept walking with Danny leaving the park. What the heck was with him? Why would he show up out of the blue and ask her out? Penny smelled the spray paint before she saw him there. Painted on the side of a building were the words Johnny and Penny in a big heart, with the artist smiling, admiring his handiwork before he turned to her. Hey Penny, you like my Valentine? Johnny asked, wheeling towards her and pulling out a bouquet of flowers. Why are you painting a Valentine for my girlfriend? Danny asked, sounding a little possessive, which Penny liked. Stay out of this, freak. This is between us normal people, Johnny said rudely. Penny gasped. Danny frowned. Yeah, well, you can talk all you want with the normal police if you don't get out of my face, Danny said angrily before he walked off. Indeed, that was quite a rude statement to make, another guy Penny had feelings for before she signed up for the dating service. Johnny Lovely, you do exist, Penny exclaimed. What do you mean he exists? Danny asked. Of course he does. He's right there. Yes, I exist, and I believe Penny proud a great love could exist between us if you gave me a chance, Johnny said, holding out his hand for Penny to take. Look, I'm flattered, but I'm not interested, Penny said. Yeah, 'cause she's going to go out with me, pretty boy, Johnny butted in. No, with me. What about me? Penny, her teammates from the football team, Carlos, Omar, and Dante, all asked, each of them having bouquets in their hands. No, I think the lady wants me, Mega said, appearing right in the middle of the football players, making them jump. But, seriously, was Batman his daddy or something? How does he do that? No, Penny wants to go out with me, Quack, her friend back from when she did Romeo and Juliet, said. I'll fight you for her. She's mine. No, mine. 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 The boys were starting to get aggressive, looking ready to start throwing hands. She's not any of your girls. She's my girlfriend, Danny exclaimed. That was when a sports car showed up 15 cents behind the wheel. Hey Penny, wanna go out in style? He asked. She's mine, someone asked. Penny couldn't even tell who before all of the guys started fighting. The only one who didn't was Johnny, who Omar wheeled out of the way. What? I ain't gonna fight a guy in a wheelchair, he said when the others looked at him. Yeah, that's fair, they all agreed before they went right back to fighting each other, Johnny chanting fight 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 over and over. While Danny turned Penny intangible, getting her out of the crossfire. This is crazy. Yeah, these guys make Paulina look sane, Danny said. Danny, I know most of those guys, and this isn't normal. I know Carlos, Kwok and Omar have girlfriends. Dante would think it's unlucky to date someone on the team, and I haven't seen him in years. Which one? Both one. I didn't know if he was real or not, Penny answered. This isn't normal. It's like they're under a spell or something. A spell, Danny thought aloud before looking around. Stay here, I'll be right back, Danny said before flying off. Oh, this turned out better than I thought it would, Cupid cheered, watching the teenage boys fighting for the hand of Penny. Proud. Next, I'll get all of her friends to throw themselves at Danny. That'll be a great part too. Or instead, Danny suggested, blasting Cupid, knocking his chair over. You can stop messing with people's heads for fun, he said, grabbing Cupid by the foot and holding him over the roof. Unhand me, mortal, Cupid demanded. Do you have any idea who I am? I'm Cupid, yes, the Cupid, and I can do what I want with love. Danny glared angrily at Cupid, thinking of when Ember put Penny under a love spell just for fun. Messing with people's emotions isn't love. It's wrong. Danny clenched his fist. It glowed with ice energy. Fix them now, or I'll leave you in a hunk of ice at the South Pole, Danny threatened. Cupid laughed. Ha, you don't have the guts. Try me, Danny said coldly, pun not intended, as the ice began to coat Cupid's legs, trailing up his body. Cupid's eyes widened in fear. Okay, he said, pulling out his wand and waving it. The boys suddenly stopped fighting, their injuries healed, and their clothes were normal. What the heck happened, they wondered before they all started to go their own separate ways. They're fine now. Stop with the ice, Cupid pleaded. Danny broke the ice, throwing him onto the roof. Now go away, and if you ever mess with someone's emotions for entertainment again, Danny warned, his eyes glowing. Cupid nodded, looking terrified. I won't, I promise, before he pooped away. Cupid poofed back into his realm. Well, that was a bummer, but I can always just blame it on Turner, before flying right into the leg of Jorgen von Strangle. Cupid, Jorgen yelled, furious, you messed with the emotions of teenagers, and worse, you were exposed to a human. Jorgen, it's not as bad as it sounds. I can explain, Cupid flying back, terrified of the most powerful fairy in the universe, bumping into a file cabinet, knocking it over, and spilling everything out of the drawers. Oh no, Cupid thought. Jorgen looked at the papers one after another. He furiously yelled. You've broken the rules. You used your magic to mess with the love lives of fairy god kids, he roared furiously, grabbing him by the collar. Jorgen, I can explain, Cupid tried to defend himself, but Jorgen squeezed tight around his throat. You are fired, Jorgen yelled, slamming the back of his wand against the ground, his clothes going away. Now he was dressed like Binky the fairy, appearing in his suit. Binky, you are the new fairy of love, Jorgen ordered. Congratulations. Hooray, Binky said, now wearing Cupid's clothes, though with pants instead of the diaper. I don't have to wear the diaper, do? No, Jorgen answered, now go to your job and don't unleash the Black Plague again or else. Binky nodded, poofing away. You fairy Cupid, get to have Binky's old job, Jorgen said with a sinister smirk. Cupid gulped, not liking the look on his face. What's that? Fairy Godparent Complaint Department, Jorgen answered, still smirking and using his wand again. He was in a caged arena in Texas with every fairy godparent, and they all looked angry. Your first assignment was to help all of these fairies with their complaint about the previous fairy of love messing with their godkids' love lives. Cupid gulped, I really wish I had my diaper right now, as a furious Wanda waved her wand. Now, she was dressed like Thor, and an equally furious Cosmo was her hammer sparking with green lightning. The other fairy godparents followed suit and had poofed up weapons. Everything from clubs and bronze knuckles to a World War II submarine. Get him, Cosmo and Wanda yelled as the most epic Valentine's Day beatdown began. Danny and Penny were walking back to Penny's house after a mostly nice date, with the exception of Cupid getting a bunch of guys to go love crazy for Penny. Danny was in a lousy mood for a little bit after dealing with the pink-haired fairy, but Penny couldn't cheer Danny up pretty quickly with some kisses. So, a good date, Danny asked. Penny nodded. The best, she answered, leaning up and kissing him on the lips. Danny smiled, looping his arms around her waist and pulling her close. The young couple enjoyed their romantic moment until it got interrupted by a blue portal opening up. Noticing the portal out of the corner of his eye, Danny pulled away, giving the portal a look. I swear if this is multiverse stuff, he grumbled before a muscular naked mole rat in a blue chest plate stepped out. Dannyphantom, sir, I am Rufus 3000, the mole rat greeted. I need your help to save Dash. Let me guess, the multiverse, Danny asked, interrupting. Rufus 3000 shook his head, no sir, not the multiverse, just the future. Ha, Danny blinked. He figured this would be more multiverse stuff. What's wrong with the future? Penny asked. It is under the rule of a terrible tyrant who used the Tempus Simia to change the future, Rufus 3000 explained. We need all the help we can get to save the future. Tempus Simia. For some reason, that name gave him a sense of déjà vu. Tempus was Latin for time. Simia was Latin for monkey. Time monkey. Wait a time, monkey. Was it an actual monkey that could time travel? Or some time machine? Why did he feel déjà vu for something called a time monkey? Oh well, the future was in danger, and people were in trouble. Danny looked to Rufus 3000. I'm in. I'm in, too, Penny said. Wait, what? Danny looked at Penny. Penny, it could be dangerous to the future under control. I know, which is why I'm going to watch your back, so you come back in one piece. Danny wanted to argue, but Penny had that determined look in her eye. He knew he couldn't argue against her. Okay, fine. We should hurry, Rufus 3000 said. We need to stop the tyrant from taking over. The mole rat handed him a time machine, something Danny never thought he'd say in his life. Danny and Penny quickly stepped through the portal to a place Danny had never hoped to see again. The carnival. In another part of the carnival, we're Dr. Draken and Shago. Excellent, all according to plan, Dr. Draken cackled. And what exactly is your plan? Shago asked, the one you two clowns and a psycho-veterinarian came up with. It's simple, Shago. Using the vast power of the Tempus Simia, we will travel to points in time where our enemies were vulnerable and eliminate them, the blue scientist explained, holding up a red light bulb. Now I need you to change the bulb in the roller coaster's camera with this. Why? Shago asked, not knowing why. Because Shago, through careful analysis and research of Danny Fenton's life today, he has no access to his powers and is on a date with Time Bomb of the X-Men. Whoa, hold up, I'm not going up against someone trained by Wolverine, Shago backed up. I've fought Wolverine, and I've got no interest in seeing if the student is as good as the teacher. Not to worry, Shago. This is before the Sentinel Smasher has begun training to use her powers, Dr. Draken said, easing her worries. Right now, she is on a date with Danny Fenton, a boy who wants nothing to do with her. Shago nodded understanding, but she didn't get what a lightbulb had to do with getting rid of Danny Phantom. Okay, what does the lightbulb have to do with it? This lightbulb is made of red ectoranium. Any ghost exposed to it is destroyed when Phantom and Time Bomb go on the roller coaster, and the camera snaps a shot, Draken began. I get it. Phantom gone, and Time Bomb blows up and goes on a rampage thinking he ditched her, Shago finished. I never thought I'd say it, but good plan, Dr. D. Thank you, Shago. Go, Dr. Draken ordered, handing him the light bulb, and don't let that bulb break. That's the only known red ectoranium on the planet. Shago nodded, slipping off. In another part of the carnival, Danny and Penny were looking around. Why would bad guys travel back in time to a carnival? Penny asked, looking around, for cotton candy. No, that's not why, Danny answered as he turned invisible before Penny could ask why. The past version of Danny ran by, looking afraid. Following after was Katie Kaboom. When she was gone, Danny turned visible. That's why, Danny answered guiltily. Is that Katie? Penny asked. Yeah, Danny answered. And you're running from her because you don't have your dash. Penny stopped. Oh, this is that day, isn't it? Yeah, Danny answered, hating his past self. This was one of the worst mistakes he had ever made. Sure, he and Katie were friendly with each other the times he's been to New York, but that didn't make up for the heartbreak and the awful things he said to her. Was going to say to her. Ugh, time travel really messed up verb tenses. Danny turned invisible, flying up. He looked for any sign of time-traveling supervillains. Keeping his eyes open, Danny found someone evil and green. Shago sneaks towards the roller coaster with a lightbulb in her hand. Danny didn't know what that lightbulb was or what it did, but he had the feeling that it wasn't something good. Danny was about to fly into action, but he stopped in midair. Danny Phantom wasn't supposed to be here today. How was he supposed to? Old-timey photos. Take a photo while dressed in old-timey costumes, someone with a camera shouted. Danny grinned. That would work. Quickly borrowing a cowboy costume, he put it on with a red bandana. He covered his face before he flew off, hitting Shago. He turned visible. Shago landed on the roof of a funnel cake stand. Phantom, how the... You're not the only one who knows how to time travel, Danny quipped. Shago looked at him, then at the lightbulb, back at him. The ectoranium was meant for the younger you, but you'll do, Shago said. Ectoranium, Danny thought as Shago charged at him. Danny fired a blast. Shago used the lightbulb as a shield. Danny watched, horrified, as his blast turned to ash. Okay, memo to me, don't let that hit me, Danny said as he leaped back, dodging Shago swiping at him with the light bulb. Shago fired a blast at him. Danny parried it. Shago rushed at him, swinging the light bulb at his face. Danny caught Shago's wrist, the light bulb inching closer and closer to his face. A panicked sweat dripped down his forehead as Danny tried to keep from being vaporized as Shago inched the ectoranium closer and closer to his skin. Danny let go, Penny yelled. A baseball came flying at the two of them. Danny listens to Penny let go, pushing Shago back. The baseball broke through the light bulb, shattering it into little pieces. Danny looked down to see Penny smiling next to one of those milk bottle games. "Hey lady, you're supposed to throw at the bottles, not at the funnel cake," the game attendant grumbled. "Oh, Doodles the red ectoranium," Dr. Draken whined, stomping his foot. "Come to Shago, we're leaving." Shago nodded, leaping back. "Random cowboy and baseball throwing girl, you think you're all that, but you're not," he said, pulling out the time monkey. Oh hey, Danny remembered that statue, but the last time Danny saw it, there wasn't a head. Rufus 3000 appeared just as Draken and Shago left. "The Supreme One has escaped. Draken was the one who took over the world." "Okay, didn't see that coming." "It's okay, we'll get M next time, right boo?" Penny asked. Danny nodded, looking back behind him. He saw his younger self with Katie looking like he wanted to be anywhere but there. "Danny, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine." Using the time machine Rufus 3000 gave him, the couple opened a portal and left. Draken and Shago stepped out of a portal, followed by Freakshow Zomboso and Dr. Anemo. The three supervillains were unhappy with the mad scientist. "What's going on here, Draken? Why did Kim Possible show up when I was going to bump off Tennyson?" Freakshow asked. "Tennyson did the same at Possible's first mission," Zomboso added. "I wouldn't be surprised if Phantom showed up wherever you two went." "Not just him, his girlfriend," Shago finished. "I told you, Dr. D, we shouldn't have tried this plan again." Zomboso, Freakshow and Anemo all looked wide-eyed again. 2 years ago, Shago said, "Of course, we didn't even get the stinking statue that time." The three villains glared at the sheepish Draken. "Gentlemen, yes, I am aware that Plan A hasn't gone to plan, but there's still Plan B," Draken said as he held out his hands towards the Tri-City Convention Center. Shago's eyes widened as she remembered this day. "Dr. D, you can't be serious." "So you want to recruit him?" Shago asked, sounding nervous, which the others noticed. "Of course, Shago, Phantom, Kim Possible and Ben 10 have interfered with our plans, but what about his?" Draken said before cackling evilly while the others were confused though intrigued by who Draken planned to recruit that made Shago of all people nervous. "Hurry, let's go," Draken said as he headed towards the convention center, hiding behind a booth as his past self and Shago was going toward Henchko's evilness testing booth. Draken peeked his head out and grinned, seeing Kim Possible and the buffoon whose name escaped him in disguise, and he turned his head back. Any minute now, a battle will break out over Jack Hench's attitudinator, which will swch out the wickedness of my past self and put it into the buffoon, Draken explained to his compatriots, who didn't sound very impressed. "You plan to recruit an evil version of Ron Stoppable?" Zomboso asked deadpan. "Who?" Draken asked, as he had no idea who this stoppable person was. "Didn't you hear me? I plan to recruit the buffoon." "Fine, but even if Dr. Anemo stopped himself from saying the name because, of course, this so-called doctor couldn't remember a handful of syllables. Even if Kim Possible's sidekick is turned evil by this machine, how useful would he actually be to wiping out our enemies and taking over the world?" "Very helpful," Shago answered deadpan. After being evil for only a couple of days, he built a laser catapult that wrecked a wedding, held the world at ransom with an earthquake machine, and a mega weather generator, Shago listed. Everyone was surprised. "Oh my, that is impressive," Freakshow admitted, incredibly impressed. "Who knew being a good guy could hinder someone's potential?" Anemo added, impressed. "All right, so we recruit Stoppable. He wipes out the teenage pains in our necks. So what stops him from turning on us?" Zomboso asked. "Easy, Zomboso, after what's-his-name eradicates his former allies. But then, when we use the attitudinator on him to turn him back into a helpless buffoon," Dr. Draken explained, laughing maniacally. Again, the others were impressed that actually was a good plan they could get behind. "I could use the attitudinator on the others to get them out of the way," all four supervillains thought, each one planning to betray the other and rule the world for themselves. The villains all watched as past events played out, Draken volunteering to have his evilness tested, the fight breaking out between the past version of Kim dressed in a leopard costume and Shago. Everything was going according to how Draken remembered it. That is until 3 blue portals opened. A green blast flew out, hitting Shago and knocking her back out of the portals. "Danny, Kim, Penny, and Ben." "Kim Possible," Draken exclaimed. Tennyson, Zomboso and Anemo growled out. Phantom dressed like a cowboy and his little girlfriend, Freakshow hissed hatefully. The 4 good guys looked at each other. Ben, seeing Danny choked back a laugh, trying to hide it behind his fist and failing miserably. Really like the new look, Danny, Ben said, trying to keep a straight face and failing miserably. I had to wear these clothes, Danny explained while rolling his eyes. Where Shago tried to waste me, dannyphantom couldn't be seen. The carnival, Kim asked knowingly. Danny nodded. Ben winced, feeling bad that he'd laughed earlier. Enough of this, get them, Animo said, throwing out a small canister and hitting it with a ray from his mutating helmet. The canister grew into a giant hamster with a snout like an alligator gorilla's limbs and a tail ending in a spiked club. Get them, my pet. The hamsteriligator roared, swinging down with its fist. Danny grabbed Penny, flying her away, while Kim pushed Ben out of the way. Come on, Humongosaur, Ben said, turning the dial on the Omnitrix before he slammed it down. Instead of Humongosaur was a green squid about Ben's height with an exposed brain with an antenna growing out the center sealed in a glass dome, a white belt around his middle with the Omnitrix symbol on it. Cha, seriously, now is not the time for a new alien, Ben complained. Whoa, why do I sound like a surfer, dude? The hamsteriligator turned to Ben, swinging at him with his spiked tail before Ben could get squished. Danny swooped in, stopping the tail muscles from straining to hold back the hamsteriligator. Ben, change into something helpful, Danny ordered. Ben nodded, reaching for the Omnitrix symbol, but Freakshow threw a glass vial at Ben's tentacles before he could reach it. Green gas spewed out, shocking Ben when he tried to change aliens. How do you like the shield of lightning? It temporarily creates a mystical barrier of electricity around certain objects. Which means you won't be changing aliens anytime soon, Tennyson, Zomboso taunted. Then, reaching into his hat, he pulled out a massive mallet. It's payback time, BRT. Before Zomboso could swing the hammer, Kim kicked the clown in the face. No one clocks my boyfriend with a hammer while I'm around. In a different part of the convention watching the fight were the Warners. I don't know. I bet I could get him, Wacko said aloud, drinking from a very large drink. You know there's more to my character than just eating stuff. It's hard to convey RBB hose animation with just text, baby bro, Yakko pointed out. Wacko conceded. This cutaway was kind of pointless, Dot said, but it does give the writer time to think up a way to finish this chapter. Back with the fight, the hamsteriligator was wildly swinging his fists, Draken was cackling, the heroes were trying to fight back Zomboso, and Freakshow was taking shots at the teens, keeping them from destroying Animo's helmet while Shago was watching with a surprised grin. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it looks like Dr. D might actually win this one, Shago said aloud, watching the destruction before a red portal opened beside her. An older version of her stepped out. She told Dr. D that there was no cloning. It was right there in her contract in black and white. Ugh, I told Dr. D no clones, she said aloud. I'm not a clone, the other Shago said. I'm you from the future. Oh yeah, prove it, Shago said. You let Kimi knock Avieris's staff out of your hand so our knucklehead brothers could have their powers, the future Shago said. Especially Higo. Okay, fine, you're actually me, Shago said. Now, if you don't mind, I want to watch Kimi and her friends get smashed into the ground. What, the giant hamster thing? Yeah, that's not going to work, future Shago said dismissively. What you need to do is take the time, monkey. Why can't I just use yours? 'Cause this one mine, or well, it will be yours, but first you got to steal it, future Shago explained. Ugh, time travel is so confusing to look. Just steal the time, monkey, when this all goes downhill, and when you do, you're going to need to pick someone up. Future Shago whispered into Shago's ear. The supervillainess's eyes widened before a smirk showed up on her face. Oh, that'll be fun. Back with the fight, Danny, Kim, and Ben got pinned against a wall by the hamsteriligator, all three of them in its hand. The mutant rodent opened its mouth, sparks of fire flashed between its teeth. It breathes fire, Dr. Draken asked excitedly to Dr. Animo. Of course, I needed my pet to be prepared for any of the aliens in Tennyson's arsenal, Dr. Animo answered, and it worked perfectly. Nothing can stop it now. Before the hamsteriligator could unleash a massive stream of fire, a purple ray hit the monster, shrinking it down till it was smaller than Danny's boot. What, but how? Dr. Draken exclaimed, stomping his foot in disbelief. That'd be me, Penny said, standing next to a ray gun that read Shrinkinator on the side. Penny pushed the button again, hitting the four supervillains and shrinking them. Thank you, love of my life, Danny said, trapping the four in a hamster ball made out of ice. Dannyphantom, Ben 10, and Kim Possible, you think you're all that, but you're not, a teeny tiny Dr. Draken shouted from inside his teeny tiny prison. Oh, shut up, Freakshow said, annoyed. Danny tossed the ball to Kim, making the villains jump at being jolted around. Now, where's that time, monkey? Danny asked, looking around, hoping to find it before some random supervillain got it. Or worse, someone who knew what it was had it. Danny spotted it. About to grab it, he got blasted by Shago and sent flying back into a booth selling books for improving evil monologues. Shago grabbed the book. "I'm not really interested in doing a hard time," she said, smiling. "Lucky for me, I've got all the time in the world." Shago used the time monkey and opened a portal. "Later losers," she said, leaping through. Before Kim could reach her. Seconds later, Rufus 3000 appeared. "Heroes, the Supreme One, has escaped again." No, he hasn't," Ben said, finally being able to turn back to human. "We've got him right here," he said, holding the hamster ball of trapped supervillains. "Where I don't see her?" Rufus 3000 asked. "Her? Wait, Shago was the one who took over the world." Danny thought, that might have been nice to know from the beginning. "I thought it was obviously out of all the thieves who stole the time monkey, and she was the only one competent at evil." "Hey!" the four villains shouted in offense. Rufus 3000 ignored this. "Unfortunately, there are no more known places in the past where we know the Supreme One appears. Which means the only place to stop her is to go to the future," Kim said, "so not the drama. I've beaten Shago hundreds of times. And you'll have the three of us with you," Danny said, looking to him, Ben and Shago, as Rufus 3000 opened a new portal, the four teenagers and one enhanced mole rat heading towards the future. The four teens came out of the time portal but didn't see Rufus 3000. "You know where Rufus 3000 went?" Penny asked as she noticed. "When you mentioned it, yeah, where is he?" The teen looked for the future version of the mole rat in the city, which was bleak and had dark clouds surrounding the buildings. "This is not like what the future was like last time I was here," Ben said. "Wait, you've time traveled?" Penny said. "Yeah, the Gwen of that time took me and Gwen of my time to the future to make sure that I don't become a big JRK towards my family. In retrospect, it seemed lonely compared to what I have now. An awesome partner like Rook, Gwen, Kevin, and Buzz, great friends like you and Danny, and the greatest girlfriend ever," Ben told them with a smile. Kim wrapped her arms around his and placed a peck on his cheek. "Ah, you're so sweet, my yellow trout," Kim told him. "Ah, thanks, my blue fox," Ben said as he kissed her back. As they finish their kiss, the teens are captured by these roundish drones with 2 robotic arms and 3 robotic claws. It had 2 sail-like wings on its back, allowing it to hover. In the palms of their hands were tentacles that wrapped around the 4 teens' bodies, and they could not move. "You are in violation of Civil Ordinances 9087648302133457432161239569574967 and 2, the robot droned out, expressing illegal individuality with contraband clothing-powered individuals failing to comply with mandatory conscription into the Great One and verbal pollution by comparing the Great One to the incompetent blue buffoon Drew Lipsky. Draken getting called a buffoon. That's ironic," Kim couldn't help but say. "All lawbreakers will be taken to the where you will be processed with obedience collars before being sent to the front lines of the Martian conquest or to the mines where you will carry out your life sentence." "Don't we get a trial first?" Penny asked. "No," the robot answered before flying off with the 4 teens. Danny, now would be time to phase us out of here," Ben whispered. "I would if I could, but I can't. It's like these chains are canceling out my powers." Danny struggled to phase out of the chains. "If I can only reach my Omnitrix, I could turn upgrade or jury rig to get us out of here." Ben tried to wiggle around to activate the Omnitrix. As the teens struggle to get their freedom, the drone robots bring them to Middleton High School. However, it looks more like a prison than a school. "Great, I feel like I'm in Walker's prison again, but the prison is now a teenager's worst nightmare," Danny mumbled as they took them to the high school. The drone went into the rooms to drop the teens into desks which cuffed them. In the room with them were other people dressed in Shago's signature outfits, like prisoners' uniforms. As the desks moved like an assembly line, Danny and Penny gasped at who was at the controls, the Gross sisters. "Nubia, Gina, Olei. What are you 3 doing here?" Penny asked. "We're here to send you lawbreakers to jail because you'll not follow the rules. So you'll be sent to prison," Nubia said as she sent 7 people to the prison beside Penny and her group. She took a look at the Proud girl. "Dang, Proud's got some good genes. You don't look like your daddy at all." Nubia was impressed. "My daddy? What are you talking about?" Penny asked. "What are you, an idiot or something? Your daddy, you know, dannyphantom, the mutie who scares folks thinking he's a ghost." Of course, she still believes that, Danny thought, annoyed that conspiracy theorists on the internet had made up all kinds of crazy things about him instead of just believing in ghosts. Most of them were just used to spread their prejudice either about aliens, mutants, or other people. Just about the only theory that wasn't somehow a slur was that many people thought he was P.P. Grayson's twin brother, and they'd been separated at BRTH. Seriously, where did that idea come from? I'll cut you a deal, baby mutie. Tell me where your folks are, and you can spend the rest of your days scrubbing dishes in a barracks somewhere instead of as target practice for the Martians. What? You're not going to ask me for the money in my pockets. Nubia laughs. The Gross sisters don't, Jack, anymore. We are on the Great One's payroll, she laughed. Now tell me where dannyphantom and his wife are. Nubia's finger was reaching for the button. Fine, have fun on Mars, Fenton. Danny, Kim and Ben struggled to get free to help Penny when the wall was blown in. Stepping through was Rufus 3000 with a guy in a high-tech Batman suit without the cape. The new Batman threw a batarang, knocking the remote out of Nubia's hand. Gina and Olei ran at the Batman, but their shadows rose before they could get close, wrapping around them like straitjackets. Not happening, Gross sisters. A familiar-looking woman dressed like a black cat but with white spots on the costume grinned. Rufus 3000 leaped forward, punching Nubia in the face and knocking her out before he ripped off the cuffs of Kim and the others. What took you so long? Apologies, the portal somehow malfunctioned. It would help if you had appeared in our base, Rufus 3000 explained. We don't know what happened. Come on, Rufus 3000, and we've got to go before the clankers show up, Black Cat Girl said. Rufus 3000 nodded before the four followed him to a jet. Go, 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 Batman shouted. The Nakey Mole Rat pilot took off flying when they were all on board. With the push off a button, the jet turned invisible Batman, and Black Cat smiled. Hey, sis, it's been a long time. 20 years long, Black Cat added, obviously smiling. Daddy wasn't too happy with you and broke curfew with Danny. Penny looked between the two, a look of disbelief appearing on her face. No way, she said. BB, Cece. Wait, really? Batman and Black Cat removed their masks, showing a much older version of Penny's brother and sister. We've got a lot of catching up to do, sis. Once they landed in an underground hangar, Danny and the others hopped out of the jet after the adult versions of BB and Cece. Man, that was a weird thing to wrap his head around, especially when they were dressed like a sci-fi Batman and a Black Cat look-alike. So what's with the costumes? Penny asked, making conversation. Not much to tell, sis. The old Batman was getting older and slower. He trained me when he died. I took up his mantle, BB said. He was your mentor, and he never told you his actual name, Kim asked. I know you don't. I'm respecting the old man's privacy, BB answered bluntly, crossing his arms. Not everyone wants their name plastered on the news and the internet. I can relate. I wish I had my secret identity back, Ben agreed. What about you? Ben paused, looking at Cece, not knowing her name. Cece, she answered, my mentor was Black Cat. Cece stopped looking upset before she shook her head. To keep it out of Shago's hands, Felicia gave me the Black Panther Miraculous. Cece tapped the jewelry in question. Sorry for your loss, Kim said sincerely. While Danny processed the name, connecting the dots, wait, Felicia, as in Felicia Hardy, she's Black Cat. Danny slapped his forehead. Remembering the first time he'd met Black Cat the same day as his blind date with Felicia. I'm so clueless. If we could perhaps focus on the job at hand, Rufus 3000 reminded, we should get to the war room. The four followed after the current adults and a Nakey Mole Rat into a lab. There mixed in with a few Nakey Mole Rat clones like Rufus was a blonde guy in an army jacket with a katana on his belt next to a brunette woman in a matching outfit minus the sword. A woman with cropped blonde hair, her right arm made of metal burn scars around the edge, next to an Indian man. Both of them were in Shago's jumpsuits. The two in the middle were a familiar face and a familiar helmet. Sticky. Tuck. The two former techno geeks looked up. Hey, Penny, Sticky said, height. Wise, he hadn't changed much in 20 years, but he looked tired, thinner, worn down, and there were dark circles under his eyes. Tucker, taking off his helmet, didn't look much better. Half his face was scarred, his left eye was made of metal. Dude, he greeted, hugging Danny. Tuck your eye, Danny couldn't help but say. No big souvenir from my last fight with Kree, Tucker said, the prosthetic glowing for a second. Besides, I looked better than she did after. Going by the savage look of satisfaction on his face when Tucker said that, Danny decided he was better off not knowing how that fight had ended. Hey, KP, the blonde guy said, hugging Kim. Ugh, Ron, your jacket smells like Narcos, Kim complained before her eyes widened in a snap second. She hugged her best friend like she hadn't seen him in a long time. I missed you, Ron. Saving the world wasn't the same without you, Kim told her best friend. I missed you too, KP. Norway stinks, Ron said. Only good thing was Sophie, he said, gesturing behind him to the woman in the army jacket. I thought you'd say the only bueno nacho in Scandinavia was a street from you, the woman Sophie quipped. Ron smiled. Okay, that was nice, least I didn't starve. Okay, yay, happy reunions for everyone, the blonde woman said in a grumpy, sarcastic way that made everyone turn to her. Let's run through the plan. Sticky nodded. Katie's, right, let's get to work, he said, tapping the table. A hologram turned on as everyone huddled around it. This is Shago Palace. June 8, the Tempa Simia will be in Shago's throne room at the top under the heaviest security between the Victory Day celebrations and the lion's share of Shago forces off-world for the Martian invasion. There'll be a skeleton crew guarding the palace, Sticky began. The first obstacle will be Etrigan guarding the perimeter, Tucker said. You can't trick him, and most people can't last a minute in a fight with him. Etrigan, Danny asked, remembering the demon from the battle against Vlad on Earth 74. He was loose cannon, but he seemed like a good guy, or were things different here on Earth 20? Mind filling in the guys from the past. For most of the good guys Shago's forces capture, she gives them an attitude adjustment with the attitudinal, then when they're evil, she uses bribery, blackmail, mind control, or implanting a bomb in their necks to keep them in line, Tucker explained. The only ones she straight up executes are the ones who are too hard to control, like Superman or Batman. Wow, that was messed up. So, who going to hold of Etrigan? I'll do it, Katie volunteered. I've gone toe-to-toe with the demon before. Yeah, and lost an arm, BB commented. Katie's face flashed with a green glow. Oh, she was that Katie. And that just made Etrigan even more terrifying than he already was. Anyone who can beat Katie Kaboom in a fight went to the top of the don't fight at all costs list? And how well would you last with all your fancy toys, Batboy? Katie growled. I won't last long, but I can give you time to get in. And I can double that time, the Indian man said, stepping forward and cracking his knuckles. Because of the motion, Danny noticed many names tattooed on the back of his fingers. Phineas. Ferb. Buford. Isabella. Right, Katie and Baljeet will keep Etrigan busy while we make our way to the Tempa Simia, Tucker continued. The Tempa Simia is to be grabbed at all costs. Nothing else matters. Whoever grabs it, use it. Go back to before Virusman's invasion can start stealing the statue from the museum, get to the ghost zone, and take it to Clockwork, Ron finished. That way, this horrible future will never exist. Why not destroy it if it's so important? Ben asked. We don't know what could happen if the Tempa Simia is destroyed, CC answered. It could fix everything or wipe out the multiverse and everything in it, BB said. That's the last resort. God, it won't break the time, monkey. Danny, Ben, you're going to need to suit up, Sticky said. A Rufus clone handed them folded green and black jumpsuits. Security measure, Shago pumps something in the atmosphere. It dampens people's powers unless they're wearing military-issue jumpsuits. Well, that explained why Danny and Ben's powers didn't work. Pretty smart. And evil. Just put it on over your clothes and let's go, Katie commented. It's the end of the world, people who care what you're wearing. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 7. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and Pokemon Fan 1991 on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video, till then goodbye.